A few years ago, in a bustling capital city, the sky was completely gray, and the rain was getting heavier. Inside a room, Lila was kneeling on the floor, her hands tightly gripping the hem of her skirt. Please, please marry me. The man in front of her was Aslan, his face showing clear astonishment and disbelief, and the atmosphere in the room became heavy. A long silence stretched between them, and when Aslan didn't respond, Lila continued to speak, her tone carrying a pleading tone. Please, just let me stay here for 3 years. During that time, I'll be as quiet as a mouse. When the time is up, I will leave on my own. He looked down at her and asked bluntly, why should I accept your proposal? Lila looked worried, thinking to herself, what will I do if I get kicked out of here? There's no other way. With that, she mustered up all her courage to answer Aslan's question, because I know what you are hiding. His expression remained unchanged, his tone still cold and distant. What am I hiding? Outside, a bolt of lightning struck, brilliantly lighting up the silent dark sky, as Lila hurriedly revealed what she knew to Aslan. After listening, the corners of his lips curved into an amused smile. Lila looked up at him, her expression a mix of confusion and anticipation. Immediately after, Aslan suddenly got down on one knee in front of her. They looked directly into each other's eyes, and time seemed to stand still in that moment. Aslan smiled at Lila. Then let's get married. And that's how Aslan Thoreau and I got married. At Lila and Aslan's wedding, there was plenty of gossip. My God, I'm rather shocked. Duke Thoreau, I know you have it all, but your taste in women is so poor. Did he ignore all those rumors just to saddle himself with a wife like her? She doesn't even come from a proper family. She's so plain. Yet she somehow caught the Duke of Thoreau's eye. Maybe she has something he can exploit? I knew everything they were saying about me in this marriage, because I had read the original novel, a novel I had read in my previous life. When I woke up in the body of a 10-year-old child, I already understood my fate. At first, I thought the story had nothing to do with me, because my life was so ordinary, and things could have easily gone in a much sweeter direction. I was happily on my way home after buying some bread, but that's when tragedy struck my life. When I saw that horrifying sight, the bread fell from my hands and scattered across the ground, as if everything was caught in a predetermined fate. In the end, I have been married to Aslan for 3 years. In the original novel, I became the Duchess of Thoreau. Just as the novel foretold, I was now standing thoughtfully in front of my wedding portrait. On an ordinary day, I was standing quietly on the balcony, lost in thought. Suddenly, a coat was draped over my shoulders from behind. I was startled and let out a small gasp. When I turned around, it was Aslan. He spoke gently to me. It's windy, my lady. It was as if it were destiny, that even I couldn't resist. I looked at him with clear eyes, my heart seemingly skipping a beat. I was sure that I had fallen in love with him too. Afterwards, we stood next to each other, silently watching a rainbow appear on the horizon. It didn't matter that we were in a contract marriage. For me, just being by his side was enough. I gently caressed the frame. With a heavy heart, I hoped this happiness would last a little longer, just for another day. Inside the mansion, the servants were bustling about, the atmosphere incredibly tense. Hurry up! Move the luggage! Be careful! Don't drop anything! But 3 months later, that day finally came. As Lila came down the stairs, the sight she saw was Aslan, bringing home a girl with fiery red hair. Her face instantly went pale, as the other girl smiled brightly and introduced herself. Greetings, my lady, I am Rosaline Peridot. In that moment, it felt as if something inside Lila was crumbling. Her facial muscles tensed. Rosaline Peridot, the young woman who stole Aslan's heart. She looked at Lila with wide eyes and said, from now on, I will be living here. I'm very much looking forward to it. Lila swayed. Her reaction was quite slow. Seeing she didn't respond, Rosaline looked up at her with a confused expression. My lady? Suddenly, Lila's entire body pitched forward, before Aslan could even understand what was happening. Wife! Seeing Lila about to fall down the stairs, he was startled back to his senses. He then rushed forward to catch her. A loud thud echoed as Aslan held Lila in his arms, his face filled with worry and fear. Her facial muscles tensed. Rosaline Peridot, the young woman who stole Aslan's heart, she looked at Lila with wide eyes and said, from now on, I will be living here. Aslan was determined to be by Rosaline's side for the rest of his life. After 3 years of this marriage, he made Rosaline his official wife. The servants in the mansion took down the wedding portrait of Lila and Aslan. In its place was a portrait of Rosaline with him, and then they set fire to her portrait, and no one ever knew what happened to me. The main characters of this story are Aslan and Rosaline. My name barely appeared in the original novel. My name barely appeared. In the original novel, people only knew me as the Duchess because I was a figurehead character. After being brought to her room, it took a long while for Lila to come to. Seeing this, Aslan immediately called out to her, wife, are you awake? I'll go call the doctor right away, wait for me. As he was about to turn and leave, Lila grabbed his arm. She said weakly, I'm fine. Aslan pressed his lips together, saying nothing, and changed direction towards the tea table in the room. Aslan picked up the water pitcher and filled a glass. Then he brought it to Lila and said gently, here, drink this. She took the glass and replied with a faint smile, thank you. Aslan was still not reassured and advised her, you should see a doctor, you can't have just fainted for no reason. Lila just gave a dismissive laugh and said, I'm fine, it's nothing serious. I was just a little surprised that you brought another woman home. Aslan seemed a little surprised to hear that. Lila continued in a low voice. Suddenly, Aslan knelt down by her bed. I'm sorry for ruining the good atmosphere. She is a guest, and yet I didn't behave as a duchess should. It's all right. It was my fault for bringing a stranger here without telling you first. She is a distant relative of mine. I happened to meet her and heard about her pitiful situation, so I took some pity on her. I know, that's the plot from the original novel. The heroine, Rosaline Peridot, unfortunately became an orphan after an accident, and she was about to be sold to an old man to pay off a debt. Aslan, being a distant relative, happened to meet her and felt pity for her. He paid off all of Rosaline's debt, and he promised to become Rosaline's guardian, and brought her to the mansion. Aslan even carefully explained further to Lila, she won't be here for long, just until the end of this year. I will see to her marriage. She will meet, find a new partner, and live happily next spring. So my dear wife, just let her live here for 1 year. The color drained from Lila's face. She thought to herself, if I kick her out of this mansion, nothing will change. This fate, though she didn't want to, she still smiled and accepted. As you wish. Aslan tilted his head and smiled back at her. Thank you for understanding. No matter how I tried to change the original plot, the outcome still followed its original course. A few days later, an afternoon tea party was held at their mansion. A lot had changed in 1 week, as all the noble ladies gathered around Rosaline to chat with her. What a romantic letter! She sat in the center of the group, smiling radiantly as she replied, every one is so important and kind to me, so this is just a small gesture. The other ladies were all pleased with her performance. You are so modest, my lady. Lady Rosaline has such an aura, it's as if she's been here since she was born. That's right. I'm sure she will become the next lady of this mansion. The flattering praise made Rosaline incredibly happy, but she feigned modesty. Please don't say such things, the madam will. Just then, she spotted someone and called out. Rosaline left her seat and slowly walked toward the door. Madam, taken aback, Lila managed a flustered, social smile and said, it seems everyone is having a lovely time? The other ladies just stared at her grimly, their faces no longer bright, as they were before. It was that familiar coldness. For the past 3 years, no matter how hard I tried, they still wouldn't accept me. What I failed to achieve in 3 years, Rosaline accomplished in just 1 week. At that moment, Rosaline walked over to her and asked with feigned concern, Madam, are you well? I wanted to find you to say good morning. After yesterday's incident, they said you were ill, so I wasn't able to see you. Lila kept the smile on her face and replied, I'm fine. Thank you for your kindness. Rosaline intimately took her hand. I have something to discuss with you. Please come with me for a moment. Please. She pulled Lila's arm, leading her out of the tea room. When they had gone some distance, a confused Lila asked, what did you want to tell me? Rosaline feigned hesitation and replied, well, I've heard some nasty rumors about you, madam. A worried look crossed Lila's face. Nasty rumors? Rosaline avoided looking directly at her as she said hesitantly, that. I heard you forced and coerced Lord Aslan into marrying you. The words hit Lila like a lightning bolt, and her whole body stiffened. Seeing her reaction, Rosaline continued in a sincere tone, I don't believe it, of course, Aslan wouldn't be a person like that. It's just a rumor, right, madam? Lila lowered her head, unsure how to respond. Then, she remembered the image of her father screaming when he learned she was to marry Aslan. Aslan Dottle is a demon. He's a demon! He used his position to force my daughter into this marriage. The other aristocrats also whispered among themselves, why on earth would Lord Aslan Dottle agree to this marriage? The bride's family is on a completely different level. I don't know what's happening either, but I'm certain his decision Ion was a mistake. I had no idea he was such an arrogant, ill-mannered, and shameless man. How on earth is he so obsessed with his bride that he'd do anything for her? Is she that beautiful? She's Helena Lariston, isn't she? I'd never heard that name among the nobility before the wedding ceremony. Lila went to see Aslan. Are you well? Seeing her, he didn't look up, continuing to sip his tea and read his book. What do you need? That your parents couldn't stop you from marrying me and becoming the duchess. That was our agreement. Back then, Lila had tried to explain. Even so, returning to the present, Rosaline's voice snapped her awake, pulling her from the memories of 3 years ago. Lady Lila said in a low voice, Aslan, he's a sweet person. Don't believe the rumors. I'm sorry. I have somewhere to be, so I'll be leaving now. Immediately after, she turned and walked away. Rosaline could only stare blankly at her retreating figure. She just walked away, as if she were trying to escape. Aslan Thodel is the sole heir of the ancient Thodel family, a young duke who inherited immense treasure and power, and a handsome face. Lila walked on, her lips pressed tightly together, lost in thought. When she passed a large portrait of Aslan, she stopped abruptly. Aslan Thodel is the sole heir of the ancient Thodel family, a young duke who inherited immense treasure and power, a man without a single flaw, and I am his very first one. I know this, but I have no other choice. To escape the Lariston family. Childhood memories flooded Lila's mind. Everything happened when I was 10 years old. At that time, Lila was cheerfully heading home after buying a few loaves of bread, when suddenly a carriage came speeding right before her eyes. It seemed as if it was about to crash into her, and the bag of bread in Lila's hands dropped to the ground, scattering everywhere. She fell back onto the ground, her face slightly pale. A woman got out of the carriage. Helena? Lila looked up at the woman. The person was. Huh? The woman covered her mouth, a loud laugh escaping as tears welled in her eyes. Hello, Helena! You're still alive? My daughter! Huh? The woman suddenly hugged Lila tightly, leaving her utterly surprised and confused. Who's Helena? Her voice was filled with confusion and a bit of fear. Ma'am, I'm not whoever this Helena is. Just then, a man also stepped out of the carriage and called out loudly, My lady, calm yourself. Lady Helena is dead. That man was Cao, and he forcefully pulled his wife to her feet, separating her from Lila. No, Helena! Cao grabbed his wife, trying to lead her back to the carriage. As he did, he glanced back towards Lila. Suddenly, his eyes widened in disbelief. Oh my god, is that Helena? Cao immediately strode towards Lila and roughly grabbed her chin. At that moment, Lila was forced to look up. She was scared but didn't dare to resist. You look just like her, exactly like her. The closest resemblance I've ever seen. How old are you? Lila was startled by the question, her face turning even paler. That night, I was kidnapped. Lila tried to break free from the grasp of the figures dressed in black cloaks, reaching for her house as she cried and screamed, Dad! Mom! Her parents quickly gave chase but couldn't catch up, helplessly and desperately shouting her name. Lila! Lila! Give my child back to me! The kidnappers hastily mounted their horses and galloped away. Despite Lila's desperate cries of, Mommy! From that day forward, I became Helena Lareston to soothe the pain of the mad wife who could never forget her dead daughter. I became a surprise gift for Lady Lareston. The servants in the Count's mansion all gossiped behind Lila's back. Of all the children Count Lareston has brought home, this little one. She's the best look-alike, isn't she? That lowly creature is lucky to live here before truly becoming Helena. She was summoned and threatened by the Count. As long as you play the part of Helena perfectly, I'll let you know what it's like to live as a noble. But if you fail like the two brats before you, I wonder if you'll even survive? In the days that followed, Lila truly tried her best to play her part. She obediently let him comb her hair, which gave the servants another chance to whisper amongst themselves, Oh my. The Count seems so devoted to his mad wife, doesn't he? It's not like the Count wants to do this, he just doesn't want to lose the enormous fortune from his wife's family. He has no other choice. But it was all to take his wife's fortune. Lila lowered her head, her heart filled with resentment. I'm Lila, not Helena. Lila Violet, after the madam dies, I'll become a girl nobody needs. I want to go back to being Lila. The long-awaited day finally came, but Count Lareston wouldn't let me go. In his study, the Count, both annoyed and expectant, asked his secretary, What did that crazy wench write? He immediately read the contents of the will that the lady left behind. She stated that she will leave her entire fortune to Lady Helena when she comes of age, and it is also written that no one is permitted to touch the assets. Hearing this, the Count could no longer sit still. He shot up from his chair and cruelly ordered, Damn it, kill that little wench now. When she dies, all the assets will naturally go to her father. The secretary, terrified, didn't dare to look him in the eye. About that, if Lady Helena dies before coming of age, the entire fortune will be donated to the church. The Count was so furious he trembled uncontrollably. Son of a bitch! I can't do anything! Lock that brat in the attic, I'll keep her there until she comes of age. And so I was locked in the attic. I was treated worse than a servant. The maids in the mansion, who already looked down on Lila, now even more so, paid her no mind. Hey Helena, come and eat your slop. I was exhausted, but at least I didn't have to wear a fake mask anymore. It was a relief. But that peace didn't last long. A short time later, Lila's life took another turn. Oh my, is this the troublesome little thing you mentioned? Dear, the Count's mistress. Only after the madam passed away did this woman become his second wife. The Count's illegitimate son, Glock, the son of that woman, stared at her with a lecherous gaze. You look so beautiful. Little sister, I think I'm starting to like you. Lila was terrified, but there was nothing she could do. He made my life a living hell. After that day, she truly became a servant in the Count's household. Glock could order her around whenever he pleased. Helena, could you clean my room for me? Little sister, I think I'm starting to like you. Lila was terrified, but there was nothing she could do. For a little while before you go, Lila knew he had ill intentions, but she was completely unable to resist. Just then, Marissa caught them. She sternly reprimanded her son. Glock, haven't I told you not to talk to that girl? Helena, this is the dress you will wear to the party next week. After receiving the dress from Marissa, Lila hurriedly left as if she were fleeing. Then Marissa turned to Cain resentfully and said, Darling, how long do you plan on keeping this little thing here? I don't want our son to be corrupted by that little wench. He hugged his wife, comforting her. Now, just be a little patient. I'll watch over the girl until the party. She wore the dress Marissa had given her and stood quietly in a corner. It was at a noble event, one she often attended to prove Helena was still alive, that she met him. At that time, Lila saw Aslan drop his handkerchief. The handkerchief was exquisitely embroidered with a beautiful pattern, and she bent down to pick it up and hurriedly called out to him, Excuse me, sir, you dropped this! Hearing her voice, Aslan slowly turned his head. His face was bright and handsome, exuding an incredibly elegant air. Lila was instantly captivated by his good looks, completely frozen in place. Aslan walked over to her, glanced at the handkerchief in her hand, and said with a gentle smile, Thank you, miss. Lila lowered her head slightly and replied, Oh, it's nothing, sir. But in her mind, she was thinking, Oh my god, I've never seen a man this handsome in my life. Aslan gently ran his fingers over the handkerchief, his eyes full of warmth. This is a precious keepsake of mine. I'm always dropping it. My name is Aslan Total. Hearing that name, Lila spaced out for a second. Aslan Total. Where have I heard that name before? While she was still staring blankly at Aslan, he let out a soft chuckle and politely asked, If you wouldn't mind, may I ask for your name? Lila seemed a bit reluctant, hesitating. Before answering, I'm Helena Lareston, that's what people usually call me. Aslan's lips moved slightly as he repeated her name, as if to etch it into his memory. Helena Lareston. Aslan placed a hand over his heart, his tone incredibly sincere. Because you returned something so precious to me, I would like to thank you. Hearing him say that, Lila was a bit confused at first. I'm sorry, but it was no big deal. Seeing her wave her hands dismissively, he insisted, taking off his brooch, and told Lila, it's alright, please accept this. If there is anything you desire in the future, just come to the total ducal estate and show them this. I do hope we meet again. Then Aslan gracefully walked away. Lila stood there for a while, watching his back as he left. Later, back in her bed at the Count's mansion, she took out the brooch, admiring it as she mumbled to herself, Aslan Thodel? A duke? The Thodel family? I remember now. He's the male lead in that novel. And now that I think about it, the Duchess's name was Helena Lorestan, I believe. Lila thought to herself. The Duchess? That's absurd. Our paths will never cross again. Still, this is a keepsake. I should put it away safely. Just as Lila finished wrapping the brooch in a clean handkerchief and carefully stashed it away, there was a knock at her door. Glock barged in without waiting and said, Helena, my dear sister, what are you up to? Our mother is planning to marry you off to some dying old geezer, you know? They're basically selling you to that old coot. Wouldn't it be much better to stay here and become my little pet? Hearing his words, Lila defiantly turned her head away. In response to her reaction, Glock gave a dangerous smile, a veiled threat. You shouldn't be so cold to me. Your real parents, aren't you curious to know where they are? At the mention of her birth parents, Lila immediately asked eagerly, You know where they are? Glock knelt on one knee before her, smiling as he answered, Of course I do. Not long before. Here. My father came here looking for me, didn't he? A little spark of hope ignited in her heart. She hurriedly asked him, How is he now? Glock looked up and said casually, My father told me to kill his entire family, if he ever bothered them again, saying they scurry around like rats. Lila couldn't contain the anguish in her heart. Tears streamed down her cheeks. So where are they now? Glock, pleased, leaned close to her ear and made a condition. If you want to know, you'll have to please me. If I'm feeling satisfied, I'll give you his address using the information from my father. At that moment, even as he groped her, Lila forced herself to endure it. I have to see my parents again. She suddenly remembered the words of her long-lost biological mother. Lila, you are the most special child in this world. If someone tries to harm you, don't just stand there. Just as Glock was about to pin her down and force himself on her, Lila regained her senses. She grabbed a nearby candlestick. Then, she forcefully smashed it right into Glock's face, making him let go of her. His head started to bleed, and he glared at her with furious eyes, gritting his teeth. A few seconds later, Glock collapsed, completely unconscious. Lila's whole body was trembling uncontrollably. She fell to her knees on the floor, her heart filled with both panic and fear. What have I just done? What should I do now? Suddenly, she saw the handkerchief holding the cufflink that Aslan had given her. Lila hurriedly picked it up, her mind set on escaping. My family, I need to find them. I have to survive. Aslan's promise surfaced in her mind. If you ever need anything, just come find me at the Thoreau estate. Immediately after, Lila bolted outside, not daring to look back even once. That night, it was raining heavily, with flashes of lightning illuminating the pitch-black sky. Lila ran through the rain to find Aslan's mansion. Her whole body trembled, not just from the cold, but also from fear. Her voice was hoarse. Do you remember me? I am Helena Lorestan. At the last party, you told me to come see you if I needed anything. Aslan leaned down. He gently wiped a raindrop running down Lila's face, his eyes filled with compassion. I think you need to warm yourself up first. Your skin is ice cold. Did you come all this way alone without any warm clothes? Then he turned towards his desk and rang a bell to summon a servant. Meanwhile, Lila clutched the hem of her dress, saying timidly, I'm sorry for getting your mansion wet. Aslan looked back at her and replied, I don't know what happened, but right now, you need to get warm first, my lady. I will listen to your story in a bit. Take good care of the lady. Following his instructions, the servants of the ducal mansion led her to a bath. They treated her with the utmost courtesy and propriety. Sitting in the large bathtub strewn with fragrant flowers, a warm sensation enveloped her entire body. The scent of lilacs, my favorite scent. After her bath, the servants helped Lila get dressed. When she saw that the dress fit her perfectly, a question popped into her mind. How do they have clothes that are just my size? The Duke lives alone and has no sisters. A while later, Lila's appearance was much more presentable, exuding the air of a true noble lady. She walked hesitantly before Aslan. I hope you are having a good evening, Your Grace. He rested his chin on his hand, staring at her intently, as if lost in thought. It took a few minutes before he finally spoke. Thank you for your kind. Then tell me what happened. Lila pressed her lips together, an intense battle raging in her mind. She suddenly dropped to her knees, clenching her fists and mustering all her courage to speak to Aslan. Duke, please marry me. Aslan was utterly astonished, his expression one of disbelief. The room fell silent, the sound of the rain outside growing louder. Lila kept her eyes lifted, looking up at him. She was truly betting everything. When an unmarried daughter dies, her inheritance goes to her father. But if I get married, I'll come of age in just 3 years, and if I die, the Lorestan family won't be able to touch my assets. And my entire fortune will go to my husband. Then, she lowered her head. But if I get married, I'll come of age in just 3 years, and if I die, the Lorestan family won't be able to touch my assets. Aslan silently watched her, then asked bluntly, Why should I accept your proposal? Lila answered honestly, I am in possession of Lady Lorestan's fortune, which I will receive when I come of age, and I will give it all to you if we marry. Aslan glanced to the side. It seemed the terms Lila offered weren't enough to persuade him. That's fine, but I'm not the type to be swayed by money. The Duke of Thodel has no need for such things. Hearing him say that, She grew extremely anxious. What if he kicks me out? There was no other way. Besides, in the novel, Helena Laraustin and Aslan had agreed to a contract marriage for 3 years, because Helena knew Aslan's secret. Outside, thunder roared, tearing through the silence of the night. Hearing him say that, she grew extremely anxious. What if he kicks me out? There was no other way. Besides, in the novel, Helena Laraustin and Aslan had agreed to a contract marriage for 3 years, because Helena knew Aslan's secret. Aslan suddenly walked over to her and knelt on one knee, bringing them face to face, the light from the large glass door casting a glow upon them. Aslan smiled and said to Lila with certainty, "Well then, let's get married." 3 years later. That is how we became husband and wife. On a beautiful sunny day, as Lila was sitting on a bench in the garden, a voice rang out, startling her. A contract marriage? Not far away, Aslan and Rosaline were talking to each other. He responded to her question, "That's right. At her suggestion, we entered into a contract marriage for 3 years." Rosaline covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Oh my goodness, you married her, but you don't love her?" He stated seriously, "Feelings have no place in a contract marriage. It's only for a mere 3 years. There is only coldness in such a marriage." Lila had overheard every word. Her expression immediately changed. There was no longer any doubt. A contract marriage was not easy at all. Even in the original story, Helena and Aslan didn't have a good relationship. It was a loveless one. And now, Aslan was standing right in front of Lila. He tilted his head and called out, "My lady, how long has it been since you've called for me?" As if just waking up, she looked at him cautiously and asked, "Is something wrong?" He leaned in close to her face, the corners of his lips turning up slightly as he said, "I am Aslan. We are husband and wife, after all." Lila's face flushed unconsciously. "I never knew that Helena was allowed to call him by his real name. Contrary to the novel, Aslan seemed to be much closer to me." While enjoying afternoon tea outside, Aslan caringly asked if she liked it. Lady Lila shyly asked back, "My lord, how did you know my favorite type of flower?" He smiled, patting her back as he replied, "I had it prepared as a wedding gift. It's hard to live in a dreary mansion, so I wanted to create a place like this for you to pour your heart into. It's thanks to my wife that I've come to know such beautiful flowers. I'm truly grateful to you. Is that it? What am I hoping for?" Although my reputation is just as terrible as in the novel, at the parties for the nobility, there were many who spoke ill of Lila. Just look at her. She doesn't seem to have been properly educated. This is the first time I've ever seen a duchess who doesn't know how to act like a proper noble. How on earth did a woman like that capture the duke's heart? She must be a witch. Those whispers all reached her ears, and her eyes grew heavy with sorrow. Suddenly, a gentle hand was placed on her forehead. Aslan looked at Lila with concern. "My wife, why are you so pale? If you're tired, come over here. You're already so frail. You shouldn't push yourself too hard." Aslan was truly so different from the novel, and faced with his warm, considerate actions, her heart was swayed and she thought, could it be that Aslan loves me too? I was hoping for a foolish fantasy, but it was all just my own misunderstanding. That day, after overhearing the conversation between Aslan and Rosaline in the garden, Lila fainted. Once again, the maids peeked into her bedroom, their voices laced with worry. "Her Grace, fainted again? I thought she was getting better. Due to the abuse and stress from the Lariston family, my body had become incredibly weak." As she groggily regained consciousness, she heard the sound of trickling water. A hand placed a cool cloth on her forehead. Lila still wasn't fully awake, and her vision was blurry. "Is that Aslan's hand? No way, it has to be Jenna. I can't hear what she's saying. My ears are ringing too loudly." Seeing her start to slip away again, Aslan's lips moved, as he called out, "Wife, please open your eyes." Just then, Jenna brought in a fresh basin of water, and she said respectfully, "Your Grace, I will take care of her Grace. Please go and rest." Aslan immediately refused, his tone chillingly cold. "I will stay here. All of you, get out. Don't let a single person in to disturb my wife's rest." Jenna dared not disobey and quickly left the room. "Yes, Lady Rosaline has come to visit her Grace." Hearing this, Aslan snapped, "I told you not to let anyone in." Jenna said nothing more, simply bowing her head before leaving. The moment she stepped out of the room, the door slammed shut. Now, only he and Lila remained inside. Aslan kept a constant vigil at her bedside, his eyes never leaving her. He gently pulled the blanket up higher, worried she might be cold. Then, he softly took Lila's hand. "Helena." He lifted her hand to his cheek, his face etched with worry. "When you get like this, I don't know what to do. Please, just get better soon." Time passed on. The light of the setting sun streamed through the large window. Down on the first floor, after leaving Lila's room, Jenna's eyes met Rosaline's. She crossed her arms, asking impatiently, "Did you tell His Grace I was here?" Not daring to look directly at Rosaline, Jenna answered honestly, "I did, but His Grace said not to allow anyone inside." Hearing this, she bit her lip in frustration. Then, lifting the hem of her dress, she turned on her heel and stormed off. Rosaline clenched her fists as she walked down the long mansion hallway, recalling how earlier that afternoon he heard the Duchess had fainted and rushed off without a second glance. So much for the coldness of a 3-year marriage? Why would you do that? You said you didn't love her. Suddenly, she stopped. Rosaline looked up at the large portrait of Aslan and Lila, smiling faintly to herself as she thought, in this short 3-year term, the marriage will end, right? What's the use of a woman who can't even fulfill her duties as the Duchess? Her smile carried a smug satisfaction. As she told herself, everyone says I'm more worthy of the Duchess's title than you. The noble ladies all dislike Lila. They compare her to me. It's just like Duke Thoddle, a prince among nobles who got caught up in A scandal just because of his wife. With her body being so frail, the Duke can't introduce her to high society. They usually look down on her like a commoner, right? Lady Rosaline is so elegant and confident. I even heard that Duke Thodel himself asked them to come to the capital together. I also heard the Duke paid off a huge debt for that lady. Duke Thodel is a businessman, so he doesn't care about charity or anything like that. He has fallen for Lady Rosaline. It's been 3 years, and they don't even have a child. It's a contract relationship anyway, so they probably don't love each other. Rosaline recalled a previous conversation with Lila. Aslan is a sweet man, because Aslan is so kind. He can't turn his back on that lowly woman, so he's just taking care of her. Therefore, if I act a little more proactively, that position will be mine soon enough. Lila slowly opened her eyes. Xena was overjoyed to see the Duchess. You're awake? The master was so worried because you've been sick for several days, she asked groggily. Aslan? The maid helped Lila sit up and replied, yes, after he was here. Lady Rosaline said she had something urgent to discuss with him, so he left a little while ago. She looked down, thinking, with Rosaline, I think I know why I got sick. I guess it's because I didn't want to admit that it's time for me to leave. Lila calmed herself down a bit. What's today's date? Xena looked at the calendar and said, oh, today is. Lila saw the date for herself and happily smiled. Tomorrow is my birthday. The birthday of Lila Violet, not Helena Lariston. She recalled Aslan's words. So no one has ever celebrated your real birthday? He had placed his hand on hers. Aslan had promised her. From now on, I will celebrate your birthday with you. I hope you will never feel lonely again. Lila looked at him, thinking, in the end, I want to be with Aslan. For my birthday. Is it okay to be this greedy? She turned and said to the maid, Xena, can you help me bathe and change? I have something to ask of Aslan. Xena replied, yes, your grace. Now, it was really the end. After bathing and changing, Lila went to knock on his door. Aslan, is he in his room? Dantun saw her waiting and said, today, the master has gone out. Disappointment filled Lila's eyes. Oh, I see. Then when Aslan returns, please tell him I have something to talk to him about. Before he could finish speaking, she heard the sound of a carriage outside. Lila eagerly looked out the window. Aslan's here. Suddenly she froze. She only saw Aslan helping Rosaline out of the carriage. The two of them looked like they were having a great time, and she was even leaning in to whisper in his ear. This felt like a blow to her mood. Aslan seemed to notice someone was watching him, and he glanced up at the window. Lila flinched and ducked away, hiding behind the curtain, while Aslan just remained silent. Rosaline pretended to cover her mouth and asked Aslan, what's wrong, my lord? Who was that? He answered dismissively, it must have been my imagination. I want to hear what you wanted to say. She smiled. Rosaline linked her arm with Aslan's and suggested, then would you like for us to have dinner together? The two of them, arm in arm, walked away. Upstairs, Lila was trembling uncontrollably as she sat gloomily in front of the large mirror. Danton spoke hesitantly. The master said that he will be having dinner with Lady Rosaline tonight. Lila acted as if she was fine. All right, I think I've bothered a busy man enough. I'm fine now, so please tell him not to worry. He and Jenna looked at each other, doubtfully. She looked at herself in the mirror. That woman was so beautiful, with hair as vibrant red as a rose, and brilliant blue eyes. When she was with Aslan, they looked as picture perfect as a painting. Is that why she's the female lead? One beautiful day at the palace, Lila was talking with Jenna, doubtfully. She looked at herself in the mirror. That woman was so beautiful, with hair as vibrant red as a rose. Feeling better now? She replied politely, I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. The woman grabbed Lila's hand and said, if yesterday you could have attended the party with me, it would have been wonderful. It was so much fun. She was confused. A party? Rosaline put on an innocent expression. Ah, since you were sick, my lady, Aslan had to attend alone, so I asked him if I could go in your place. Aslan agreed immediately. Thanks to you, I really had a wonderful time. Aslan even said, thank you for coming with me. In return, he said that today he would buy me a new dress. Lila's mood sank again, today, but the other woman was still excited. Yes, he said he would go with me and pick it out himself. Aslan is so kind, isn't he? She received another shock. Today was her birthday. Lila's hands started to tremble. Right. In the original story, the two of them grew closer and closer just like this, because Rosaline could fill the void that his fake wife, Helena, couldn't. I really am just a side character, she forced a smile, and said, I hope you have a wonderful time, and thank you for taking care of Aslan in my place. I still haven't fully recovered, so today, I'd like to rest alone. After saying that, Lila quickly walked away. Sweet Aslan had only promised that because he pitied her. In her memory, Aslan had once said, why don't you celebrate your birthday with me every year? I will never forget, and I will take care of you. Even though he's forgotten now, I can't bring myself to resent him. Now that the main character has appeared, it's only natural for the side character to be forgotten. Lila was lost in thought. When she saw him and Rosaline walk past, Aslan leaned down, bringing his face close to hers. Because from the beginning, he never belonged to me. Seeing the two of them kiss, Lila silently shed tears. Now is really the time to leave. But in reality, he wasn't kissing Rosaline at all. Instead, Aslan is whispering in her ear. I think you've had enough fun, Rosaline Peridot. Now you have to tell me the information you promised. One morning at the palace, Lila gazed thoughtfully out the window. She said softly, today is a beautiful day to leave. Today is my birthday and also the day that Aslan's and my marriage contract ends. Aslan is a good person. He couldn't be the one to ask me to leave first, so it's better if I say goodbye to him first. For the past 3 years, Aslan has treated me very well. In the end, I think it was the right thing to do, to care for him. Lila arrived in front of Aslan's office. She placed a hand on her chest to calm her nerves. Lila knocked softly on the door, and he said from inside, "Come in." She pushed the door open and went in. Aslan was focused on reading a document. He asked distractedly, "Who is it? Is that you? Are you feeling better? I heard that you had woken up. My work has been very busy, so I was only able to see you yesterday, while you were fast asleep." Lila just stood in a corner and said, "You're busy, but I'm sorry. I have something I need to tell you, Aslan." He hurriedly pulled out a chair for her. "Sit down first. You can't neglect your health." Lila slowly sat down. She began to reminisce and said, 3 years ago we wrote our marriage contract here. Do you remember? The day we wrote the contract here." He replied blankly, "Of course I remember." Lila continued with her story. "Today is my birthday. Our contract also ends today." Aslan was about to say something, but was cut off by Danton bursting in through the door. "Sir, what you requested is ready." He ignored him. "Wait there. I'm talking to my wife. She didn't want to delay Aslan's work. No, I came here to say goodbye." This time he was truly stunned, but Lila remained calm. "Thank you for everything, Aslan. Our contract has expired. I'm leaving now." Aslan wanted to stop her. "Wait. Please wait a moment. Did I do something wrong to you? If I've offended you in any way, I'll fix it immediately." Leaving so suddenly like this, Lila remained firm. "It's nothing like that, because you have been very good to me. I truly hope that you will be happy. Aslan, please take good care of yourself." His eyes widened. Aslan chased after her, but then Rosaline appeared to rush him. "Aslan, if we don't leave right now, we'll be late." Aslan was flustered and didn't know what to do. He could only instruct Lila. "Wait for me a little longer. Let's talk again. If you have any complaints, I will listen to all of them and fix it. You must be patient and wait for me a little." With that, Aslan hurriedly left. He and that woman were still discussing something. She just stood and watched them go. "This is how it all ends. Goodbye, my love." It didn't take long for me to prepare to leave, because I didn't have much luggage to bring. In case Aslan misunderstands and feels guilty, I decided to leave a letter before going. Danton didn't forget to ask Lila, "Madam, are you ready? The master will be back soon." She just smiled softly. "I'm ready. Thank you for everything all this time, Danton." Not long after that, Jaina saw Lila leaving with her luggage. "I'm worried about you leaving, but you seem so calm. If only you would tell me where you're going." "It'll be fine. Aslan won't want to look into it." Both Danton and she watched as Lila's figure faded into the distance that afternoon. At the train station, she silently watched the scenery flash by the train window. Elsewhere, the scene was a complete mess, and in disarray. The purple-haired man reported to Aslan, "According to our intel, we're in the right place." He looked around and asked, "What happened here?" Rosaline, trembling, stammered, "They said that they were still here, so the property still belongs to them." He said with regret, "I thought we were so close to catching." Aslan, handkerchief in hand, thought, "I was sure I'd find them this time. The first thing I'll accomplish is my wedding to Helena." 3 years ago, he brought down the Lariston family. The Count tried to use his daughter as bait in the Thottel family's railroad business. It was easy to make Count Teedston go bankrupt. After the death of Count Lareston, his mistress Marissa and Glock fled together like rats. After tracking them for 3 years, I finally found a lead at Baron Peridot's mansion. Just as I expected, I traced Glock, who had been in contact with Rosaline Peridot, and I found out where he was. As for Marissa, people say she manipulated Baron Peridot into gambling and made him squander his entire fortune. When he realized he'd lost everything, he flew into a rage, killed Marissa, and then took his own life. It seems Glock managed to escape. After listening, Aslan asked, "You don't know where Glock Lariston went?" The purple-haired man admitted, "We haven't looked into that yet." "Oh, there's a rumor that Baron Peridot's daughter knows." "You, sir?" He looked skeptical. "Rosaline Peridot?" He turned his attention to Rosaline. "Glock has escaped, and Rosaline Peridot will be sold off to pay her father's debts. Aslan devised a plan I should try approaching her once the rumors are widespread. Then, I'll pay off all her debts and bring her to the capital. Glock will look for Rosaline. Will be sold off to pay her father's debts. Aslan devised a plan I should try approaching. Again, Glock Lariston, I will find you, no matter what. You shouldn't think of him." At that moment, Rosaline flinched at his warning. "Eris Station, Lila's train, has just arrived. This is Elude, a small, peaceful port town. This is where my real family." During that time, I was able to exchange letters with them thanks to Aslan's help, but it's also been 3 years since we last met in person, because I was afraid of being discovered as a commoner and not. Again, that's why I brought Rosaline Peridot to the capital." He swung the sword in his hand through the empty air. Aslan muttered, "And I missed him. Helena Lareston. That's why my parents settled in this remote countryside, to avoid getting. Who could be visiting?" She suddenly dropped her apple basket. Sophia was overcome with emotion. Lila. Tears streamed down her face as well. "Mom." She rushed forward to hug Lila. Aiden then turned towards the house and shouted, "Dad, Dad, Sis is home." Lila's father dropped what he was doing. "Lila." He ran out of the house. "Lila, my daughter." The family of 4 embraced emotionally. Through her tears, she said, "I'm so sorry I couldn't come visit everyone all this time." Sophia cleared her throat. "What is there to be sorry for?" Lila's father stroked her hair. "As long as you're safe and sound, that's all that matters." That's a relief. Seeing his attitude, she joked that he was probably the one who needed his tears wiped, not her. He eagerly introduced, "Sis, this is our home." Lila stared at the house intently. "Our home." A voice called out, "Miss Lila, that's right, this is our home now." At Aslan's palace, Danton and Jenna were filled with dread as he held the letter from Lila in his hand, his face grim. "Dear Duke Thoreau, I want to thank you once again for your kindness and generosity over the past 3 years, and I hope you will forget any trouble I may have caused you. And I sincerely wish you and Lady Rosaline a lifetime of happiness. As you know, our relationship was only in name only, so please do not let Lady Rosaline misunderstand the situation between us. I have enclosed the contract we signed 3 years ago, along with the divorce consent form, and I will always pray for your good fortune. Please stay safe and happy. With deepest gratitude, signed, Lila Violet Aslan." From Lila in his hand, his face grim. "Dear Duke Thoreau, I want to thank you once again for your kindness. Tried to convince her ladyship that you would return soon, but she was adamant. I've made a mistake. I shouldn't have left like that. Did she misunderstand and think I wanted to divorce her to remarry Rosaline? For your good fortune, please stay safe and happy. With deepest gratitude, signed, Lila Violet Aslan." She overheard that conversation? There's a high probability Glock will contact Rosaline. I can't let anyone find out how much I cherish Helena. Glock knows Helena's true identity because he threatens Helena with a situation he doesn't even understand, and he might want to use it as a weakness to intimidate Helena. That's why I considered lying to Rosaline Peridot that my relationship with her was only in name. Aslan stared at the signature on the letter before tearing it to shreds and crumpling it in his fist. She must have gone to Elat. Aside from the men hunting Glock, the rest of the knights are to go and escort my wife back immediately. The man nodded. "Yes, your grace." Aslan didn't forget to instruct the purple-haired man. "We're going as well. Prepare a ship to Elat at once." He obeyed. "Yes." Then they left, Aslan clearly in a hurry. Suddenly, he stopped. Aslan looked out the window at the garden, his expression unreadable. He reached into his pocket, and Aslan took out a ring box. "This was meant to be her birthday present this year. I wanted to give this to her. To Helena, after we got rid of all the messy ties to the past by ending this 3-year contract marriage and starting a real life together. Because from the very beginning, I had no intention of ever letting her go. 4 years ago, I started having those dreams. In them, I was older than I was at the time. I was in love with a woman, and she used my secret as leverage to force me into marriage with her. Feeling deeply betrayed, I stubbornly entered into a 3-year contract marriage with her. But after those 3 years, she left, and I couldn't forget her. I missed her so much that I eventually died all alone. These scenes were too vivid to be mere dreams. Could they be prophetic dreams? I refused to believe it. Driven by superstition, I searched for the name of the woman I had seen in my dream. I finally found Helena Lariston. The first time we met, Lila was wearing a pink dress. He was secretly watching her from behind. There really was a woman with that name. She often felt unwell, so she didn't appear often in high society. A woman whose name very few people knew, with chestnut brown hair and a petite frame that looked just like what I had seen in my dream. If it wasn't just a dream, was there really something between that woman and me? If so, perhaps that woman also knew of my existence, just as I knew about her. Aslan had just dropped a handkerchief in front of Lila. She saw the name embroidered on it. Lila quickly picked it up and called out, "Sir, you dropped this?" He turned around. In her eyes, he was truly a dashing gentleman. Lila looked at Aslan with complete infatuation. He felt the same way. Aslan could only think that the moment I saw her face, the feelings from my dream, perfectly matched reality. Even in the dream, the very moment I first saw her, he stood frozen for a few seconds. Aslan felt as if his heart was about to explode. Aslan gave Lila a ring. "If you ever want something from me, come to the Thodal estate and show me this." But it didn't stop there, and once I found the real Helena Lariston, the obsession from the dream truly began. The gowns Helena once wore, I had seen them in my dreams. The things she used, her favorite flowers, I obsessively collected them all, waiting for the real Helena Lariston. Finally, she was right in front of my eyes, looking much younger than the Helena of my imagination. I seemed to be quite interested in her. I don't know exactly what happened, but for now, you should warm yourself up first. I will listen to your story later. Aslan gazed distantly out the window as Lila quietly approached. "Duke, thank you for your kindness. She was prettier than the Helena in my imagination. She's so beautiful." Suddenly he found it strange. Why did it feel like he could hear every single thumping of his heart? Aslan regained his composure. "Tell me what it is you want from me. Coming here tonight?" She didn't dare to speak. Then Lila sank to the floor. She pleaded earnestly, "Duke, please marry me." He was genuinely surprised, and Aslan felt annoyed. "Are you trying to threaten me? With marriage of all things? Are you daydreaming?" He maintained a polite tone, asking, "Why should I accept this marriage proposal?" Lila was speechless. "What am I going to do if he kicks me out? I have no other choice." That being the case, she decided to risk it all. "I know the secrets you've been hiding." Aslan frowned. "My secrets?" Lila was about to say, "You," but she broke into a violent coughing fit. He became concerned. "Do you have a fever? The floor is very cold. Don't just sit there. It's raining quite hard tonight." Aslan moved to help Lila up, while she was still calculating her options. "You can't force someone to treat you sweetly in a marriage by threatening them. Should I just beg him?" Lila lowered her head and cried out, "Please help me! I was kidnapped by Cult Lariston!" His expression slowly darkened. Aslan said hesitantly, "I'm sorry." Finally, she had no choice but to confess, "I am not Helena Lariston. My name is Lila Violet." The Helena Inn. My imagination never finished her story before she disappeared. Lila trembled, not daring to look straight at him, and hung her head. I was trying to escape, but I remembered the button the Duke had given me. I'm sorry for appearing so suddenly, and making such an absurd request, Your Grace. He just kept staring at her, as tears streamed down her face. I must have lost my mind. I have no choice but to marry the Duke. I'm sorry. Inside, Lila thought to herself, why is he being such a pain? When he picked up the handkerchief, he must have been furious. Suddenly, Aslan burst out laughing, and the sound made her freeze. Lila immediately looked up at him. Is this the Helena Lorestan I imagined? Is it because of her circumstances? That she's asking me to marry her? I once betrayed the one I loved, hating her for using a secret as a weakness, and trying to use me. But her love overshadowed that hatred and betrayal. I've wondered what Helena was thinking even as she left me. And now Aslan knelt on one knee before her. It was unclear what he was thinking to agree so easily. Let's get married. I don't want to repeat the same mistakes. Lila was stunned. What? Aslan held her shoulders and soothed her. Hush, now I'll do as you wish. Get up now, the ground is cold. She found it hard to believe. Really, you mean it? He handed Lila his handkerchief. Wipe your tears. They're not pretty at all. Consider this a reward for finding my handkerchief. There are a few things that are very precious to me. She took it from his hand. Yes. Lila couldn't understand Aslan's actions at all. Is he really marrying me just because I found his handkerchief? He should have gotten angry and sent me away. What kind of person is he? Suddenly he spoke. I have a question. She quickly answered. Yes, Aslan. Asked Lila. What would you have done if I hadn't helped you? She became flustered. If I hadn't returned the button, I would have sold it and gone far away. It wouldn't have been easy, but I would never stop looking for my family, he continued. But that plan wouldn't be safe for you at all. Who knows how many years it would be before we met again. She's not like I imagined this. Helena isn't naive at all. Aslan kindly offered, I think it would be safest for you to stay here until you find your family. I'll ask the members of my household about it. She asked doubtfully, really? He smiled gently. After all, how could I refuse? I'm not a heartless man. Lila thought it made sense. Well, he won't turn his back on me because he feels sorry for me. She bowed her head in thanks. Thank you so much, Your Grace. Aslan thought to himself. She really is a sweet person. This was the beginning of a relationship that would change everything. He had already given Lila so much of his attention. Your hair looks wet, you should go dry it first. We can talk more this evening. A relationship where there's only love without any hatred or misunderstanding, she mumbled shyly. I will never forget this kindness, Your Grace. So, in this moment, I swear, I will never lose her again. At Aslan's palace, everyone was bustling with work. Rosalind looked around, looking lost. She stopped a maid to ask, what is everyone doing? The maid answered respectfully, Miss Rosalind the Duke has ordered us to prepare carefully for a trip. Rosalind wondered, what trip is he planning to? Where did he go? The maid answered, my lady, he went alone. It seems the Duke is going to escort the Duchess. It's very busy around here right now. Hurry up, put it here. Right here. She wondered, has the contract period ended? Rosalind looked displeased. Why does he have to go with her? She wanted to leave. Isn't it just that the Duke is worried about the fragile Duchess being alone on such a long journey? She found it strange. It's so weird. Isn't this the time to say goodbye and leave? I thought Aslan wouldn't regret that marriage. Was I wrong? I can't let them see each other again. Rosalind wanted to ask the maid a favor. Could you please bring my luggage as well? The maid looked like she wanted to refuse, but I see that he will be departing soon. But she insisted, it's fine. I don't have much luggage. I'll talk to Aslan myself while you get my luggage. The maid had no choice but to agree. Yes, my lady. She thought, with the Duchess leaving just like that, the Duke must be so bewildered. With that settled, Rosalind left. She thought triumphantly, but soon, he will find the one he truly cares about. Delicious and beautiful dishes were laid out on the table. At that moment, Lila's father called out, Aiden, hurry over here, son. Sophia said gently, eat up, Lila. Seeing the food, Lila couldn't help but exclaim, it's Mom's chicken soup. I miss this so much. Seeing her eat with such gusto, her mother smiled. It might not be as fancy as what you eat at the Duke's estate, but you loved it when you were little. Lila praised as she ate. Nothing is more delicious than this, Mom. Her father affectionately said from beside her. Next time, Dad will also cook a special soup for you. Aiden sat down and let out a soft sigh, then looked her over and remarked, Sis, you've gotten so much prettier. They must be treating you well at the Duke's residence, huh? Lila was a bit flustered, unsure of how to explain. Well. Hearing that, Lila's father spoke up. Look at how the Duke takes care of us. We want for nothing. Then, Aiden gave a thumbs up. That's right. We were always on the run back then. It was exhausting. When you got married, we were able to live comfortably. Seeing everyone discussing it, Lila felt awkward, let out a small noise, and said with her head down, Aslan, no, the Duke is very kind. We are truly fortunate. He lightly nudged her shoulder, teasing, are you sure he is only doing it because he's a good person? Hearing this, Lila was stunned and gasped. Sophia stared at Aiden and called out, Aiden. Meanwhile, he kept his eyes fixed on her. It's not a stretch. In his letters, he always writes so formally, my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. Mom and Dad even say he's like a real son-in-law. Her father looked a bit flustered and turned away. He's just being polite, that's all. Aiden was still grinning. Do you really think that after 3 years, you won't come back? Her mother, seeing things were getting out of hand, quickly covered his mouth. This child! Of course Lila is coming back to us. What are you saying? But Aiden wouldn't let it go, exposing her. But aren't all your letters just about Aslan? You're acting like someone completely in love. Lila's father and Sophia were in a complete panic, trying to stop him from talking. Her mother forced a laugh and said to Lila, "Lila dear, don't pay any mind to what your brother is saying." Her father also tried to reassure her, "If you have a problem with Aslan, with the Duke, it's alright. Lila, you have us." At that moment, Lila's father was trying to restrain the struggling Aiden. "Aiden is on your side too, right?" Seeing this, she was bewildered and gasped again. Lila smiled and explained, "Thank you, everyone. There's nothing wrong with us, it's just that the contract has ended. I came back because I just didn't want to be a bother to Aslan anymore." After speaking, she quietly thought to herself, "I've been in one-sided love with Aslan for 3 years now, so now, Aslan has probably forgotten me and is happy with Rosaline by now." Lila's hand unconsciously came up to her chest as she felt a slight pang of pain. She hurriedly stood up, pushing her chair back. "I'm finished eating, Mom. I'm gonna go inside and clean up a bit." And just like that, Lila ran off, leaving the three of them staring in surprise. He saw this and asked blankly, "Didn't those two get into a fight and she just stormed out of the house?" The woman immediately raised a finger to shush him. Aiden whispered, "Just pretend you don't know anything. Let's wait until Lila tells us herself." Meanwhile, at the ducal estate, Danton was reporting, "I've already booked the train tickets to RS, sir. I'm not sure what we should say about you traveling from RS to a lot." At that moment, a cheerful Rosaline ran up to call out to Aslan, "Are you going somewhere, Your Grace? I thought you might be lonely, so I'll accompany you." A train trip sounds like so much fun. Then Aslan shot her a cold glare before turning away, saying, "It will be a problem if you don't have a ticket, Lady Rosaline." Rosaline was incredibly crestfallen. But Aslan ordered nonchalantly as he walked away, "Escort Lady Peridot inside and prepare for departure. Hurry, we still have some last-minute things to get ready." The man accepted the order, turned to her and invited, "This way, my lady." Rosaline said nothing in response. Shortly after, the train departed. She was led by Danton into an incredibly luxurious suite. Suddenly, Rosaline curiously spoke up and asked, "When is Aslan coming back?" The maid who was cleaning turned to report, "I'm not sure, my lady. He left." Without a word, he went to chase after the madam. "I wonder if he'll return with her once his schedule is finished," she realized the reason for Aslan's actions and immediately pouted. Then, Rosaline looked curiously at the shopping bags before her. "Are those my clothes?" The maid quickly confirmed, "Yes, they are, my lady." At that, Rosaline calmly ordered, "I want to buy a new dress." The maid heard this and was in disbelief. "Again?" Rosaline continued with a carefree air. "The money that Aslan gave you to look after me? There's still a lot left, isn't there? I'll spend it as I please. I can't possibly wear an old outfit to welcome someone back from a long, tiring trip." The maid understood her meaning and replied, "Yes, my lady." The sun went down, and night completely filled the sky. Now, she was smiling gleefully, twirling to admire the dress she had just tried on. Then, Rosaline said, satisfied, "I'll take this one." The store clerk bowed respectfully. "Thank you. Ma'am, please come again." Once she had chosen an outfit to her liking, she walked out of the store. Rosaline strolled down the street, feeling extremely excited. She had no idea that her every move was being watched by Glock. He quickly began to follow Rosaline from a dark alley. Now, as she walked, she seemed to sense something was amiss. So Rosaline turned her head to look behind her. A moment later, in a narrow alley with few people, she was shoved hard against the wall by Glock. Rosaline leaned against it, panting heavily. "What the?" The voice of the man rang out, startling her. "Looks like you've been living the good life recently, huh?" Rosaline suddenly began to tremble as she recognized his voice. Meanwhile, Glock was sporting a grotesque smile. As he moved his face closer, she finally realized. "Glock? Clariston Glock," got close to Rosaline and demanded, "I heard you gave my address to Duke Theodore? It seems you've forgotten all about our past love, haven't you? Isn't that a bit harsh, my love?" She panicked and hurriedly pushed him away. "What love are you talking about? When my father died and I was sold off, you abandoned me and ran away." He quickly held up his hands to pacify her. "All right, I'm sorry. It was a situation I couldn't avoid. So you sold me out for Duke Theodore? It seems he's treating you well. How much money has he spent on you?" Rosaline fearfully dodged Glock's hand. "Don't touch me." He just calmly rubbed his hand. "Looks like your ego has grown since you became the daughter of Duke Narini." Just like that, Glock slowly closed in on Rosaline. In a flash, he was right next to her, and he opened his mouth to threaten her. "But I can reveal your little secret anytime I want." Lila's father, 5 years ago, at the Peridot estate, in that rural place, he appeared before her weary eyes. Sounds from the distance caught Rosaline's attention, the stable hand her father had just hired. Back then, Glock smiled gently. "I hadn't heard that the House of Peridot had such a beautiful young lady." She fell for a man whose looks were a rare sight in the countryside. While her father was busy gambling his life away and paying her no mind, she developed a deep relationship with him. Sometime later, he shouted in disbelief. "You're pregnant?" She sobbed in terror. "If my father finds out, I'm dead. What should I do?" Glock told her to just wait a little longer. He said he would take full responsibility, but that dangerous man could also find a way to harm her. Marissa had been stabbed to death. Glock ran away, terrified of her father. Having lost all his fortune, her father was furious, and not long after, he took his own life. She suffered a miscarriage from the shock, and just before she was about to be sold to pay off the debts, Aslan finds out, "I'm dead. What should I do?" Glock told her to just wait a little longer. He said he would take full responsibility, but that dangerous man could also find a way to harm her. Marissa was in poor health and very timid. Her reputation didn't seem to be very good either. Comes looking for you, you must tell me. A young duke who was not only kind and handsome, but also rich. His wife. I naturally thought I could take her place when she left. Returning to the present, as Glock was questioning her, will the duke still love you after he finds out about your past? I didn't think it would be difficult to get rid of that woman. Besides, their marriage was a short-term contract, so anymore, and slapped him hard. Shut up! Go tell Aslan all that nonsense, and a woman who's been pregnant with another man's child, you think any man would still want you? Finally, she couldn't take it. Smile suddenly appearing on his face. After returning to her room, Rosaline slammed the door shut. She leaned against it, panting heavily from her escape. Right now, Rosaline was terrified. What should I do? If Glock tells Aslan about my past? No, Aslan. I will kill you. With that, Rosaline hurriedly fled, leaving Glock behind. He watched her retreat, a sinister. Rosaline felt a bit more relieved at the thought. He must be doing this to protect me. Maybe if he is trying to find Glock to kill him. She suddenly imagined him with a sword in hand, ready to take care of Glock. It'll be very difficult during the day without a ticket, Lady Rosaline. Rosaline's face immediately darkened as she thought about Aslan's feelings. But I don't know what I should do. He and his subordinates were riding on horseback toward Lila's house. When he saw the house in the distance, Aslan immediately stopped his horse. Then he nimbly jumped down. After that, Aslan turned to give an order. My wife might be startled if so many men with swords show up to see her this early in the morning. I'll go on ahead. The rest of you wait from a distance. After giving his instructions, he walked gently toward the house. And then, he stood there, staring blankly at the house before him. Aslan sighed softly, wondering, is she still sleeping? Just then, someone reached out and opened the door. Oh my, Lila, you're awake? Hearing the sound, Aslan quickly hid behind a tree. At the same time, Lila opened the door and said, yes, Mom, I woke up to the sound of birds singing. Away. He quickly recognized Lila's voice. Meanwhile, she exclaimed excitedly, the morning air feels so good. It's so refreshing. Aslan's heart suddenly pounded when he saw how Lila looked now. She still hadn't noticed anything unusual and called down. Dad said he was going to make soup. For breakfast, right, Dad? Lila was extremely excited, saying it was going to be delicious. Lila, it's a special soup. It is. Just hearing that made Lila excited, and she smiled brightly. That sounds so delicious. As for Aslan, he was stunned when he saw her reaction. She can smile that brightly? She wanted to help too, so she asked, is there anything I can do? Just then, Aiden came over and suggested, hey sis, let's go pick some herbs with me. Hearing this, Sophia quickly reminded them, it's still cold. You two put on a jacket before you. Go. At the duchy, she was always sad and insecure. He said as he started walking. Last one there has to do the laundry today. Lila hurriedly ran after him, retorting, hey, that's cheating. Who said you could get a head start? And she ran off without noticing Aslan, hiding behind a tree. He clearly saw the moment Aiden smiled and chatted with Lila. She was never like this in front of me. I've never seen her laugh like that. Lila is living a better life than when she was with me. His hand unconsciously clenched into a fist. She's happier now. Aslan felt a bit sad, silently watching the scene. To Lila, who is smiling so happily, can I ask you to come back to me? Elsewhere, as Rosaline sat dazedly on her bed, she was secretly calculating in her mind, all right. Then, if I observe Aslan after he returns from his trip, I'll know how he feels about me. If he comes back with the Duchess, then I'll know for sure he still has lingering feelings for her. And if Aslan returns alone, it means his heart has turned to me. Rosaline suddenly felt extremely confident and smiled. By then, Glock won't be able to do anything to me. Meanwhile, Aiden was diligently showing Lila, after we pick these thin leaves, her hand, reaching for an herb, suddenly stopped. Lila looked behind her in confusion. What was that sound? He also wondered aloud. Did someone come here? This early in the morning? Huh? Then, she stood up with a completely surprised expression. It can't be. Her heart suddenly began to pound when, seeing someone approaching Aslan, Lila unconsciously ran forward. Han rode up on a horse and spoke with a bright smile. Oh, hello. She froze when she saw Aiden waving at him. Hey Han, good morning. He replied politely. Good morning, Aiden. Here's this morning's paper. At that moment, Aiden stepped forward to introduce them. Sis, this is Han, the local mailman. Say hi to him. Lila did as he said, speaking up. Oh, hello. Han looked at her and couldn't help but exclaim, so pretty. Then, he said with a bright smile, hello, it's a pleasure to meet you. Lila also introduced herself, saying, I'm Lila Violet. Then she couldn't help but think disappointedly, what a bummer. Why did I think it would be Aslan? Impossible. Just then, he nudged Han with his elbow. Han, don't get any ideas about my sister. She's married. Already. He was visibly surprised by this news. You're married? Lila hurriedly waved her hands to deny it. Oh no, I used to be, but I'm divorced now. Hearing this from behind a tree, Aslan felt like he'd been struck by lightning. Han saw the expression on her face change and quickly said, oh really? I'm sorry. Lila smiled back. There's nothing to apologize for. Then, she clenched her fists, thinking, okay, I need to stop thinking about Aslan. The blessings I've received over the past 3 years were more than enough. I should put an end to this misunderstanding about Aslan's tolerance and these delusions. After a moment of thought, Lila said, everything's fine. I feel much lighter now. But when he heard that, his face grew even more grim. Meanwhile, he was relieved to see her cheer up. Really? That's great. Lila replied politely, "Thank you for your concern." Aiden, standing right there, warned, "But stop staring at my sister, Han." At that moment, Aslan sadly lowered his head. She feels relieved. Meanwhile, he kept rambling on. "My sister has really high standards." After a bit more chatting, Aiden waved goodbye to Han. "Bye-bye." Just then, Sophia opened the door and asked curiously, "Is it cold this morning? Or something? You two took so long." Lila looked at her and explained, "It's not cold, Mom." He then exclaimed excitedly, "We got the paper." Sophia was still worried, draping a blanket over her body. "I'm just afraid my precious daughter will catch a cold." Seeing this, Lila couldn't help but say, "Do you still think I'm a baby, Mom?" She laughed at that and headed inside. "Your father is waiting. Let's go in." He watched from a distance, stunned. At the sight, Aslan remembered her words from before. "Everything's fine. I feel much lighter now. When she was with me, was she always miserable?" In my dream, Lila was someone who cared about nothing but me. She never spoke of her family, hobbies, or friends. She just clung to me, wanting my love, and always following me. Was that really it? It's just, if I showed her my love, if I treated her well, not like in my dream. I thought she would be happy. Was she not happy being by my side? Did she want to return to her family? I never once asked. She was forced to live with a different identity and depend on a husband in a short-term marriage. How could she have been happy? After a moment of thought, he turned and walked away. Aslan didn't go inside the house, instead returning to his men, where he quickly mounted his horse. Aslan gave an order, "Stay here and protect the lady. If anything happens, report to me immediately." The man asked worriedly, "And what about you, Your Grace?" He replied calmly, "I will return when I am done." Swiftly, Aslan rode away from that land. Back at his mansion, time passed, and Rosaline shot up happily. "Is Aslan back?" The maid immediately confirmed, "Yes, he is." After hearing that, she frantically asked, "Oh, did the madam come with him?" The maid reported, "No, he returned alone." Rosaline was instantly overjoyed at this news. Then she excitedly ran outside. As Rosaline ran, she thought gleefully, "Wonderful. I was right. There's nothing between them anymore." At the same time, Aslan returned from his long journey, his figure looking incredibly lonely, with sorrow etched clearly on his face. "Aslan, I have to get Lila's real name back. I can't let her be separated from her family anymore. To do that, I have to get rid of that blackfellow quickly." Meanwhile, she ran down from the top of the stairs, calling out, "Aslan, you're here. I was so worried. I didn't know if you were hurt by the madam." Instantly, he frowned in annoyance. "What do you mean?" Rosaline then calmly replied, "The madam wanted me to take care of you, Aslan, so she pretended to be sick, right? Even though you treat the madam so well." Aslan couldn't believe it and exclaimed, "What?" She continued to ramble on. "The madam told me to take care of you in her place at the ball, and the next day she came to me and said goodbye. If the madam had any feelings for you, she wouldn't have said that." His hand unconsciously froze. "Wait a minute, the day after the ball was Helena's birthday? No, Lila's birthday. I promised to spend that entire day with her every year. There's no way she would leave me for Rosaline. Impossible." Aslan suddenly recalled the past, when he had said, "I think you should go dress shopping alone, Miss Peridot. I have an appointment with my lady today." Back then, Rosaline grabbed his hand and said, "But I just saw the madam. She said she wasn't feeling well today and wanted to rest alone. If your plans were canceled, then you're free today, so you could spend one more day with me, please." Unconsciously, Aslan stepped back, avoiding her. "You said you needed time to talk about Glock. I already went to the ball with you as promised." Then he suddenly leaned close to Rosaline's ear and sighed. Then, Aslan's cold voice rang out, "I think you've had enough of your little games, Rosaline Peridot. Now, give me the information you promised." Back in the present, he raised a hand to his forehead. "I've made another mistake." She didn't understand the meaning behind his words. "What do you mean?" Aslan ignored Rosaline's reaction and demanded, "Jenna, were you with my lady that morning?" Jenna quickly confirmed, "Yes, I was." He continued to question her. "I had a prior engagement with my lady that day, so I told Miss Peridot it would be better if she went shopping alone. Was that message delivered correctly to my lady?" The maid glanced at her and denied it. "No, sir. Miss Rosaline said that as a reward for attending the ball with the Duke, you wanted to buy her a new dress yourself." Hearing the truth, Aslan let out a bitter laugh. The truth was exposed, but Rosaline still tried to explain. "Me? The servant must have misunderstood. Mistaken about something." He impatiently cut her off. "Stop. It's all my fault, Miss Rosaline Peridot." She looked completely stunned after hearing him. "Excuse me?" Aslan's voice was devoid of any warmth. "I shouldn't have let you act so freely without knowing your place. I suppose I was too lenient. Take Peridot to the Amber House. If Glock Clariston comes looking for her, capture him and bring him to me immediately after catching. Glock Clariston, banish Peridot immediately." She trembled and blurted out, "What?" He then turned his gaze sharply toward Rosaline. "Don't you ever come near me and my lady again." Rosaline hurriedly grabbed Aslan's hand to hold him back. "Wait," but she was quickly restrained, as he said coldly, "Go, Rosaline. I will give you time to pack your things." As she was dragged away, Rosaline screamed in despair, "No!" Very quickly, she was dragged out of his sight. Just then, Dan Tin came to report, "My lord, a letter from the guards in Elo has arrived." He immediately held out his hand and ordered, "Give it to me." Aslan's expression changed as he read the contents. "Mr. Violet went to town to buy fever medicine. My lady has always been frail. he began to speculate. She must have caught a cold from going out in the cold morning. Aslan paced back and forth, extremely worried. My lady appears to be ill. Send our doctor. To Elo at once. No, it would look strange if I just sent someone. I must go there with the doctor myself. He looked on, feeling a bit helpless at the sight. After a moment's thought, he turned to give orders. I'm leaving immediately. Get ready. Dan Tin asked with some concern. You worked all night and now you want to leave immediately without resting? You should at least eat. Aslan paid him no mind and replied, I can sleep on the train, it's no big deal. My lady's health is more important. As he rushed away, Dan Tin bowed respectfully behind him. Yes, I understand. Meanwhile, Lila was in her room, sneezing repeatedly. Sophia smacked her shoulder in frustration. I knew it! I told you to wear an extra layer before you went out. Lila's father quickly intervened. All right now, here's the strawberry cold medicine you like. Drink this and get some sleep. Lila took the medicine and retorted, I just need to sleep. You're treating me like a little kid. Suddenly, her mother's eyes began to well up with tears as she said, but we're just so happy that we can finally be by your side when you're sick. Her father's eyes glistened too. You must have been so sad all those times you were sick without your parents, our daughter. Seeing this, she quickly reassured them. No, not at all. Duke Aslan took very good care of me. When I was sick, Aslan was always by my side. I thought it was Gina back then, but she told me that Aslan was the one with me. Thinking of this, Lila fell silent. Unconsciously, her hand clenched into a fist. I shouldn't be remembering him. Soon after, the train was about to depart. Aslan ran, shouting, the train's about to leave, hurry up! The doctor rushed after him, exclaiming, what? Just like that, he ran off, unaware that someone nearby was watching. He stared intently at Aslan and the other man. The man's eyes were cold and sharp. I heard he was traveling alone, without any guards. This is my chance. He then quickly mounted a horse and spurred it on. The horse, under the man's command, quickly galloped away. It was only then that the doctor noticed something amiss and turned his head around, only to see horses charging aggressively toward them. He screamed in absolute panic, Duke, get out of the way! Hearing the loud noise, he also turned his head, but Aslan, unable to react in time, he was shoved down by them, followed by a loud crash that echoed through the train station. The doctor panicked when he saw him lying unconscious on the ground. Now, there was a large gash on Aslan's forehead, and his memory suddenly flashed back to the day he and Lila met when she had taken the initiative to make a proposal. Aslan couldn't believe it and blurted out, what did you just say? Lila calmly proposed, please marry me, Aslan. Besides, I know the secret you're hiding. His face darkened upon hearing this. What secret? She calmly pointed out that your mother killed your father, you staged it as an accidental death, and you locked your mother in a convent. Aslan was utterly astonished as Lila turned away and said, I won't bother you for long. 3 years. Just marry me for 3 years. After 3 years, I'll leave quietly. Time passed, and he, carefully bandaged, slowly blinked his eyes. Aslan sat up in confusion. What was that dream? He winced slightly in pain. In a convent. Aslan was utterly astonished as Lila turned. Now, Aslan glanced at him and asked, why am I here? Dantun immediately explained, you were hit by a carriage. I was so worried because you wouldn't wake up. Seeing him sit up, the doctor said worriedly, you shouldn't sit, and thought, my head feels like it's going to explode. Seeing this, Dantun joyfully exclaimed, Master, you're awake. Go to the station to see the Duchess, don't you remember? His eyebrows furrowed tightly. You, what do you mean, the Duchess? Dantun froze when he heard that. Pardon? Aslan then retorted irritably, I'm not married. Who are you calling the Duchess? My mother? He and Dantun were momentarily stunned. Dantun hesitated slightly and bowed his head. Master. Aslan grew even more confused. Glaring at Aslan became even more confused. Why do you all look so pale? Is something wrong? Dantun, seeing that the situation was not right, turned to the doctor. What is the master talking about? The doctor analyzed the situation and said, his recent memories must have been lost due to the shock. Excuse me, Your Grace. How old are you this year? He still didn't understand what was going on, but answered anyway, 20 years old. The room fell silent in an instant. He couldn't believe it and asked, Your Grace, you don't remember anything after you turned 20? Hearing this, Aslan asked blankly, what? Aslan stood before a portrait of himself and Lila. He stared, observing it expressionlessly. Aslan spoke up, I married that woman? Dantun answered worriedly, yes, don't you remember anything at all? He thought to himself, she looks like the woman from my dream. Did she force me to marry her? He asked curiously. So what about Tedensa? He tilted his head in confusion, pardon? Aslan calmly repeated, Tedensa, the railway transport business I founded. I hope it hasn't been shut down, has it? Dantun was only now slowly beginning to understand. He took him to the office to review the documents from the past few years. Aslan looked around doubtfully. Are we expanding to the west? This is growing faster than I anticipated, Dantun slowly explained, because the company, Tuttle, had already expanded to the east and north first. With these successes, the reputation of the Tuttle family grew ever greater. Out of habit, he glanced down at a drawer and reached to open it. Shouldn't you have stayed behind to secure the western front? Huh? The cigars are gone. Didn't I tell you to always keep this stocked? Dantun stammered slightly. Well, you quit smoking 3 years ago. Aslan looked at him doubtfully. I did? He quickly explained the reason. The Duchess is very frail, even with second-hand exposure. Just with the cigarette smoke, you said it wasn't good for the Duchess. He was feeling sarcastic. This woman called the Duchess seems to pop up everywhere. Huh? Aslan tilted his head, looked at the contract and asked, "Isn't this a contract marriage? With her?" "There are documents recording the contract period, and it expired a while ago." He answered hesitantly. "That is correct, sir." But he coldly wondered to himself, why did I marry her in the first place? Her family isn't even powerful at all, and she didn't fulfill her duties as a duchess. Danton affirmed, "It was the Duke's decision, sir. We were not privy to the details. Instead of it looking like I was forced into marriage, she was to just act as my duchess. I suppose that's what my subordinates think." He immediately added, "But if you wish to regain your memories, you should meet the Duchess again." Aslan wouldn't hear of it. "Didn't you say I already went to find her and came back alone, right? I must have decided not to keep her around anymore." Danton still tried to persuade him. "Well, but if you want to regain your recent memories, the doctor said you must speak with those you've been in contact with recently." He suddenly remembered. "Someone I've been in contact with recently. I heard there's another girl staying in my mansion." Rosaline was both surprised and delighted to be summoned for an audience. She put on a concerned and worried expression. "I'm so glad you've woken up, Aslan. When I heard you were in an accident, I was so worried." Aslan said bluntly, "I heard I ordered you to be confined to the Amber House and then kicked out." Those words stunned Rosaline for a moment. Did he really lose his memory like the butler said? He did? "This is my chance," she whined, making an excuse. "That was just a small misunderstanding. My ex-lover came to find me. I know I don't have any feelings for him anymore, but I think Aslan only did that out of anger. He didn't understand why. I would be angry with her. She took advantage of the situation. Because we're in love." He looked at her, stunned. "I love you?" Rosaline pretended to be flustered. "Yes, don't you remember? Weren't you the one who paid off all my debts and brought me to this mansion, right? The Duke and Duchess's marriage is just a contract, and you've said for the past 3 years that the contract was very troublesome." Aslan couldn't help but doubt her story. "I don't think I'd be so vague." He calmly requested, "Go on." She slowly recounted, "My deceitful ex-lover would likely try to harm me. You told me to report to you if he ever approached me. After I told you, you went to catch him yourself, and when you failed, you were furious and told me to find him. His name is Glock Clariston." Aslan considered this. "I do vaguely remember that, and it sounds like something I would do. Am I really in love with this woman? She's pretty, but so what? I never even thought I'd get married in this lifetime. I can't believe I'm married and having an affair on top of it." He probed, "I don't quite understand. You secretly met with someone from your past?" She quickly denied it. "That's not it. He came and threatened me himself. He threatened to spread rumors about me. I barely managed to escape." Aslan called, "Danton, is there any credibility to this?" He wasn't entirely certain. "I do not know the details, but the reason the Duke was angry was that Miss Peridot was careless with her conduct. With you, because you, master, have always considered the Duchess the most important person." He shot back. "So what? Didn't she leave on her own? Right? Because my weakness was exposed, she must have pounced on it to get her guard back by her side. She was probably kept around to prevent her from revealing my secret. It's strange I didn't deal with her then. It's strange I let her live for 3 years, but there must have been a reason I didn't touch her. I can't act recklessly, while my memories haven't fully returned. I'm not sure if I'm actually dating this person, but when we talk, some hazy memories do come back. I want you to stay by my side for a while, Miss Peridot." Rosaline's face flushed with joy when she heard that. He explained, "I still can't remember everything about you. If we stay together, my memories might slowly come back. I hope you can help me." She smiled and replied, "Yes, of course." Inside, Rosaline was ecstatic. "I did it." The hand holding the thermometer showed a reading of 36.5 degrees. Lila's father danced. "In celebration, congratulations on your recovery, Lila." Violet Sophia's eyes welled with emotion. "You did so well, my daughter." Aiden added encouragingly, "Sis, I knew you'd pull through," Lila said, embarrassed. "It was just a mild cold." Lila's father and Sophia hugged her and asked, "Is there anything you want to eat to celebrate your recovery, daughter? Or should we go downtown and buy you something delicious?" She helplessly tried to reassure them. "I'm fine," her mother asked affectionately. "Then, does my daughter want some hot tea?" Her father agreed, adding, Right. I also baked an apple pie." Aiden suddenly looked shocked as he glanced at the newspaper. "It says here there was a carriage accident at the Central Station." Lila looked over curiously. "At the Central Station? Let me see." She took the newspaper, a little worried. "That's where Aslan is." Lila's whole body suddenly froze in shock. The teacup in her hand fell to the ground and shattered. Her parents turned around, startled. "Lila, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? What's wrong?" She answered, trembling. "Aslan was in a carriage accident." Sophia gasped in horror. Duke Thodel, Lila's father, couldn't help but worry. Was he badly injured? Her hand holding the newspaper trembled uncontrollably. She read aloud every word written. "His Grace, Duke Aslan Thodel, Chairman of Tedenza." "Lila, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? What's wrong?" She answered, trembling. "Aslan was in a carriage accident. Has not been seen by the public in recent days. It seems this is a very serious injury." "Why don't you go and see him?" With tears in her eyes, she replied, "But Aslan and I are nothing to each other anymore." Her father calmly advised, "You can go see him just once. You two lived together for 3 years. Can't you even worry about each other?" Lila hesitated, not answering. "Are you saying I can see Aslan again?" Rosalind spoke up to get Aslan's attention. "So we went to the ball together, and I wore this very dress you bought for me. I attended in your wife's place. Everyone said the atmosphere was so much brighter. Do you remember?" Aslan, head aching, replied coldly. Is that so? He thought to himself. I don't remember a thing. She quickly moved closer. You also gave orders that I should want for nothing here. You gave me a lot of money, and you always spent time with me. You cared for me and loved me. He frowned, his annoyance obvious. He refused, pushing her away. I'm sorry, Miss Peridot. I don't remember. Perhaps that's why I don't feel anything when I look at you, Rosaline told herself. While his memories haven't returned, this is my chance. The Duchess is gone now, and once he starts to like me, that wench won't be able to kick me out. It's okay, Aslan, there's no need to rush. I will always be by your side, Aslan. Aslan couldn't help but question himself. Did my type change as I grew up? I don't even know why I'm getting close to this woman. Even though I'm not interested in women, if I were to like someone, they would be someone. Calm and pure, yes, the person I saw in that gentle painting. A knock on the door interrupted Aslan's thoughts, startling him. A voice called from outside. It's Danton, sir. He replied, come in. Who caused the carriage accident? He slowly reported. He was wearing a mask and ran away. They said they couldn't identify him. Aslan deduced, a mask? He was most likely hired. Danton continued, to report. Furthermore, since you haven't appeared in public, the rumors about the accident are getting worse. Since the Duchess isn't here, some are even saying you tried to kill yourself from the shock of the divorce. His head throbbed in annoyance. This is driving me crazy. Aslan considered, if this continues, Thodel's stock price will drop. Rosaline suddenly turned and suggested, Aslan, how about we go out to eat? Together? A stroll with a young woman. What better way is there to prove you're perfectly healthy? He remarked, that's a good idea, Rosaline Peridot. Aslan quickly stood up from his chair. I have to deal with the divorce papers for my ex-wife soon anyway. If I show them I have someone new now, it'll cause less trouble. He gently extended his hand. Rosaline, will you accompany me? The train station was bustling with people. Lila turned back to reassure him. I can go by myself. He worried, what if someone kidnaps you again? Dad won't let that happen again. If anyone recognizes you, just tell them I'm your porter. I won't reveal your identity. Shall we go, Lady Helena? She hissed in embarrassment. Dad, I finally arrived in the capital. Aslan no longer cares about me, but I can't stop worrying about him. I'll just watch him from afar to see how he is, and maybe then I can rest easy. Rosaline turned and asked, how do I look? Aslan smiled and replied, it suits you perfectly. She answered happily, really? Aslan suggested, shall we go to the jewelry store? The dress would look even better with the right accessories. She immediately agreed. That would be wonderful. The bell on the door chimed softly as it opened. Whispers rose from the crowd. Isn't that Duke Thodel? They said he was in an accident, but he looks perfectly fine. Is that Rosaline Peridot next to him? They've been living together for quite a while now. Aslan said with satisfaction. This should be enough to quash the accident rumors, don't you think? Rosaline suddenly spotted Lila in the crowd ahead of them. She gasped when their eyes met. Duchess Thodel! A sharp pain shot through Lila's heart. Rosaline, and why does it suddenly hurt again? Aslan isn't injured, is he? His face looks a bit pale. Rosaline couldn't help but wonder, why is that witch back? If he sees the Duchess, he might remember everything. I have to stop. She suddenly stumbled and cried out. Aslan asked, Rosaline? She whined, ouch, my new shoes are too tight, so I tripped, and my ankle hurts so much. I don't think I can walk anymore. He offered, lean on my shoulder. Aslan immediately swept Rosaline up in his arms. She feigned embarrassment in his embrace. Everyone's watching. Are you sure about this? Aslan replied calmly. Aren't we putting on a show? Anyway, she seized the opportunity. If we're gonna put on a show, we might as well go all out, right? Rosaline leaned in and gently kissed his cheek. Lila stood there, completely stunned by what she had just seen. I tripped, and my ankle hurts so much. I don't think I can walk anymore. He offered, lean on my shoulder. Aslan immediately swept Rosaline up. She quietly walked away, telling herself, Aslan, he's doing just fine. I don't need to worry. Lila's father appeared cheerfully, showing off. Whispers and congratulations quickly buzzed around her. Oh my gosh, look at that beautiful scene. Are the rumors about them dating true? And eat. She thought to herself, yeah, as long as he's okay, that's all that matters. Just be content with that. Lila's father asked worriedly, are you cold? Lila, I bought this strawberry honeycomb cake. She immediately pulled him away. It's cold out here. Let's go inside. She joyfully grabbed her hand. My lady, you're back. Lila quickly denied it. Oh no, I wasn't planning on coming back. I just had some business in the capital. Then let's go inside together. A familiar voice called out, causing her to stop. My lady. Lila turned her head and immediately recognized Jenna. She was skeptical. I don't understand. What do you mean? Lila glanced back worriedly, her face breaking out in a sweat. Aslan lost his memory? An image of Aslan flashed through her mind. Jenna stood before her, breathlessly explaining, he can't remember anything after he turned. Jenna said seriously, my lady, you must return to the Duke's estate immediately. The situation is very serious. Asking worriedly, pretending to be his lover? Weren't they in love from the beginning? What are you talking about? No way. 20. Rosaline Peridot is taking advantage of that to pretend to be the master's lover. Lila looked on in disbelief. And then he heard that you were ill. He rushed to your side with a doctor but got into an accident. Rosaline Peridot, that despicable woman deceived you, my lady. The master found out and was furious. He ordered us to banish Rosaline Peridot. We're ridiculous. A thought flashed through her mind. Aslan clearly told me this marriage was a nuisance. Lila stood there stunned after hearing her explanation. It can't be. Lila looked down, a little scared, thinking the words, has interacted with recently. The person closest to the master these past 3 years has been you, my lady, hasn't it? I will arrange. Jenna gripped her hand tightly and said clearly, the doctor said that for the master to regain his memory, he needs to talk to the people he, in different eyes. In another scene, Aslan was gently carrying Rosaline, who looked up at him and asked shyly, a place for you to meet without Rosaline knowing. The two of you should meet and talk. After hearing this, Lila remained silent and he slowly whispered, you're a little heavier than before, but to me, you're still as light as a feather. Finding that strange, Rosaline was immediately filled with a big question. What do you mean by, then before? Am I too heavy? Seeing this, Aslan gently looked down at her. So what if you are? Aslan's hands held her firmly, weak, and fell often. An image of Lila suddenly appeared in Aslan's mind, and he faltered for a moment. The two of them walked under the gentle sunlight. His eyes glanced down. Didn't I used to carry you like this often? I vaguely remember it, because you were very... Her eyes. The atmosphere around him darkened, his heart pounded, and he suddenly thought, what did I just remember? Aslan looked a bit tired and gently put her down. You should go back first. Take Lady Peridot. He looked down with a worried expression, as if he had sensed something, and slowly let go of her. Meanwhile, Rosaline's anxiety was clearly visible in, away. He grabbed his jacket, slinging it over his shoulder. I still have a lot of work to do, so I'll stop by the office. The servant bowed respectfully. Understood. Yes, take care. The two of them watched from behind as Aslan calmly walked away, back to her mansion. The servant standing behind him replied formally, yes, sir. Rosaline watched his retreating back with a hint of regret as he walked, crossed his arms and stood facing the window, his expression growing serious. Even if I talk to Rosaline Peridot, no matter how much, I can't remember a thing. Although a few scenes flash by occasionally, they're more like memories of Rosaline Helena Lariston. She grew sad, her disappointed gaze following him, that Lady Rosalind. After returning to his room, Aslan, my Lord Duke, the Duchess is here to visit. Upon hearing this, Aslan quickly turned around. A look of suspicion mixed with anticipation in his eyes. He thought, that woman? He placed a hand on the windowsill. Let her in. In the midst of his tension, there was a knock on the door. A woman with long braided hair opened it and saw Aslan standing there, lost in thought, begin to pound harder. She walked hesitantly in her purple boots, her hands clasped in front of her, her head bowed shyly. And then, Lila revealed her exquisite and radiant face. Upon seeing her, Aslan frowned as memories came rushing back. Upon seeing Lila, a memory surfaced. I love you, Aslan Dodal. Please just once is enough. At that moment, the image of him, standing there with an icy expression. Look at me. It's not Rosaline Peridot, but the memories and feelings are rushing back. How can this be? I can't tell the two of them apart. Back in the present, while he was lost in past memories, he suddenly stumbled backward. Lila rushed to his side. Aslan, you look so pale, are you all right? Aslan, your face is so red. Do you have a fever? She gently reached out to touch Aslan's face, but he startled and quickly pulled away. Confused, her eyes widened. Aslan took a few steps back, keeping his distance from Lila. If my memory serves me right, this woman threatened me. I was forced to marry her. But why is it that the moment I see her face, why do I feel this love for her? Aslan's face was drenched in sweat. Our contract has already ended. What are you doing here? Lila hesitated, looking at the floor, unable to meet his gaze. Well, do you remember me? My name is Helena Lareston. Aslan broke out in a cold sweat and looked away, thinking, memories are rushing into my mind like a flood. This woman, what is she to me? Lila stammered, looking at him with concern. I heard that you were in an accident and lost your memory. He's breaking out in such a cold sweat. Is he hurt somewhere? She lowered her head slightly and said quietly, to help you regain your memories, you should talk to people you've been close to recently. Even though ours was a contract marriage, her words unknowingly made his heart pound for some reason. We were married, so I thought I could help. A faint blush crept onto Aslan's face, with beads of sweat on his cheeks. I can't breathe, because these emotions are so overwhelming. He clenched his fists as he thought, I want to pull this woman into my arms. I can't think straight. I just want to kiss her. He instinctively turned away from her, trying to hide the confusion that was showing on his face. Am I going insane? Did the accident mess with my head? Growing more concerned, Lila slowly reached her hand out towards him and asked, Aslan, are you all right? Without thinking, he decisively and coldly slapped her hand away. Aslan looked at her, his mind filled with countless warnings, running through his head. This is dangerous. I can't let this woman see my weakness. Threaten me. She'll get a hold of my weakness once again. His eyes darkened then, his lips curling with cold indifference. You want to exploit my weakness again? You just believed that rumor and came looking for me? Do you think you can still use me after the contract ends? Hearing this, Lila was taken aback. She answered hesitantly, while her head was bowed and her hands clutched the fabric of her dress. That's not it. And then the words came out, accompanied by a tear that appeared and rolled down Lila's cheek. I was just worried about you. The sight of her crying sent all his thoughts back to the past, his heart pounding more fiercely than before. The woman who threatened and used me, as if that wasn't enough. She even used those tears to demand my love. But why me? Aslan furrowed his brow slightly, placing a hand on his chest in confusion. Just by seeing this person's tears fall, why does my heart ache like it's about to stop? Suddenly he reached out, moving toward her long, silky hair. A sudden knock on the door echoed, interrupting Aslan's unconscious action. He opened the door and announced to Aslan, "Your Grace, Miss Peridot is here to see you." Lila turned around, somewhat bewildered. "Rosaline?" After hearing the news, he immediately gave the order to let her in. As soon as he finished, Rosaline rushed in, shouting his name loudly, "Aslan!" Seeing Aslan standing before her, she stopped short in surprise. Rosaline placed a hand on her chest, feigning endless worry. "Oh my God, Aslan, your face." She ran over to carefully support him and asked, "Are you all right?" Rosaline gently told Aslan, "Your body still hasn't recovered. I was worried about you going to work like this, so I followed you. My ankle is feeling better after a little rest." Seeing her, however, his feelings remained completely unfamiliar. Aslan thought, "In front of this woman, my emotions are perfectly fine." He suddenly rested his head on Rosaline's shoulder, while she was still quite surprised. "My heart, which felt like it was dying, is now calm." She silently wrapped her arms around his back to hug him. Aslan's reaction clearly shows he hasn't recovered his memory yet. I have to chase that wench away and stop her from ever seeing him again. Rosaline immediately turned to her with a furious expression. "What are you doing here? Isn't the relationship between you and Aslan over now?" Hearing this, she replied awkwardly with a hint of regret. "Ah." She looked at Lila with a clearly displeased expression. "You took advantage of Aslan's soft heart, knowing he couldn't abandon you when you act so weak. You lived in luxury for 3 whole years. Are you sad because the contract is over? Are you planning to exploit Aslan's guilt and cling to him again?" The words, spoken as if by someone with no conscience, rang in her stunned silence. And then she screamed at her to leave, filled with extreme hatred. "Get out now, and don't you ever come back to Aslan again." Her attitude shifted in an instant, as she carefully helped him sit down, her high-pitched tone becoming incredibly gentle. "Aslan, it's all right now. You should sit down and rest." Looking at that scene, she could only remain silent as tears threatened to spill. That teardrop still rolled naturally down her cheek. In the end, Lila chose to leave that place, not wanting to stay for another second. Once outside, she stood still for a long time, thinking about the scene from before. Lila cursed herself for being such a fool, her slender hands falling limp at her sides, with questions forming in her mind. What were you even expecting coming here? I misunderstood everything, Aslan, and we're just in a contract relationship. The image of them in a photo together, suddenly, shattered in Lila's imagination. That contract, which had been a nuisance to Aslan for 3 whole years, she took a deep breath and wiped away her lingering tears. In an instant, she ran off without looking back. Then, she suddenly came across her father leaning against a stone wall, who was happy the moment he saw her, and called out Lila's name. He asked her in a quiet voice, just loud enough for the two of them. "Did you talk to the Duke yet?" She quietly replied with a nod. "I did." Lila looked up at her father with a rather forced smile and said, "The Duke said he's fine now. Let's go home, Dad." He seemed to sense something was wrong and slowly asked her, "Are you okay?" Lila quickly grabbed his hand and changed the subject to avoid his suspicion. "I was planning to buy gifts for Mom and Aiden too. What should I get them, Dad?" She walked beside her father with a faint smile, thinking to herself, Rosaline was right. I can't go back to Aslan now. I really have to stop foolishly missing Aslan. At the mansion, under the bright moon, the doctor frowned and turned to an attendant while Rosaline hid behind him. Because he overworked himself, his condition has suddenly worsened. He needs to rest. Aslan was now breathing with difficulty after seeing her. Unfamiliar memories of her suddenly flooded my mind. An image of Lila in a yellow dress, smiling beautifully, appeared in Aslan's mind. Was I happy when I was with her? Suddenly, the scene shifted to a sharp, blood-stained dagger. I never thought I could be happy with anyone after my mother went insane. In the past, he was trying to calm his mother, who was frantic, with a knife clutched in her hand. "Calm down, mother." She was distraught, repeating the same words over and over. "I have to kill them, have to kill them, I have to kill them all." Aslan tried to reason with her. "Mother, let go of that." Suddenly she screamed and lunged at him with the knife. "Get away or I'll make you bleed." Aslan was horrified by his own mother's madness. "Get lost, I'll kill you." The scene of his mother being dragged away, leaving him alone in the chaos. After my mother, who could no longer control herself due to her mental illness, was sent to a convent, my father's death was made to look like an accident. Aslan sat, contemplating the paper in his hand. But maybe that's why I was never interested in women. I lived a life. "I'm the one using your own secret to threaten you. Please marry me." Aslan thought, "I know what you're hiding. Get lost, I'll kill you." The scene of his mother being dragged away, leaving him alone in the chaos. After my mother, who could no longer control herself due to her mental illness, was sent to a convent, my father's death was. Do I feel like I was so happy being in love with her? Aslan lay in bed with a compress on his forehead, his face, been sleeping all day long. The doctor looked at her grimly and began to explain. "This is part of the brain's recovery process." I'm the one using your own secret to threaten you. Please marry me." Aslan thought, "I know what you're hiding." Could no longer control herself due to her mental illness, was sent to a convent, my father's death was, and clasped her hands together. Did meeting the Duchess help him get his memory back? I'm so worried. An image of Lila, with her hair tied up in a bun, looking frightened and trembling, appeared. Another dream about her, before the funeral and in front of so many people. Lila thought, this is the convent where my mother lived. This must be her funeral. She passed away in the convent after all. She was heartbroken, and tears streamed uncontrollably down her face. You will be at peace, in a place with no more pain. You will not have to suffer anymore. Aslan, dressed in a black suit, gave her a gentle smile. She is crying even more heartbreakingly than I am. Was she that close to my mother? Aslan gently held a white flower before, a white dress. Lila's tears flowed even more as she stood before the coffin. Her expression was lifeless. A woman so beautiful, not just gorgeous but noble too. He slowly stepped forward, while holding a white handkerchief. Even in mourning, she is still so beautiful. It looks like she needs this. My name is Aslan Thodel. Was she that close to my mother? Aslan gently held a white flower before. People always said I take after my late father more than my mother. She took the handkerchief to wipe her tears, smoothed her dress, and turned her face away. The handkerchief is soiled now. I will wash it and return it to you later. Seeing this, his eyebrows furrowed slightly. She wondered, could it be that the loneliness I felt after my mother's death is what made me fall in love with him? The handkerchief is soiled now. I will wash it and return it to you later. Seeing this, his eyebrows furrowed slightly. My wish came true in a strange way. Lila, having composed herself for a moment, raised her voice. Mary, while holding a white handkerchief. Even in mourning, she is still so beautiful. It looks like she needs this. My name is Aslan Thodel. The handkerchief is soiled now. I will wash it and return it to you later. Seeing this, his eyebrows furrowed slightly, Ted and tainted by her threat. I hated her, and when I knew she loved me, I wanted to hurt her in the most cruel way. The moment Lila cried and begged him, as light streamed through the window. Please, please, just one time, look at me, not Rosaline Peridot. Aslan looked at her, a final smile on his face as she cried and begged. I thought to myself that I was rather enjoying it. Rumors that Rosaline and I would remarry began to spread. Helena could not take it anymore and left me, and I... Helena! Aslan woke up feeling tired and disoriented. Ah! Immediately, Rosaline rushed over, hiking up her dress to run. Aslan, are you all right? He sat up, his eyes looking down at the bed as he panted. What? I tried to kill myself because I missed Helena? The rumors about the accident became even more scary. It was because the madam is not here. Some even say you attempted suicide from the shock of the divorce. She saw his face covered in sweat and hurriedly took out a handkerchief to wipe it. Goodness, you are sweating so much. You should rest more. Aslan placed a hand on his forehead, utterly exhausted, and thought, why? Why did I do that? Aslan looked completely dejected, leaning back against the headboard, startling Rosaline. Ah, Aslan. His eyes were heavy with disappointment and sadness. The emotions in my dream were too real. It felt as if my heart was being torn out. The fact that she is not by my side, is it really that hopeless? I want to run to her right now and beg her to come back to me. Was I driven mad by the loneliness after my mother passed away? Frightened, she did not know what to do and shot up to run outside. This will not do. I must call the doctor. Doctor! But surprisingly, Aslan grabbed Rosaline's arm. Hold on, don't call anyone. She found it strange, turning back to Aslan, whose eyes were filled with hesitation and worry. I can't let anyone see any weakness, he thought. Then Aslan quickly pulled Rosaline back. In her dress, she landed neatly on his lap, her face flushing bright red and her eyes wide with utter surprise. Ah, Aslan. He wrapped an arm around her, suddenly thinking, when I'm with this woman, no memories or feelings surface at all. I can go back to being my cold self. A faint blush appeared on Aslan's cheeks as he shyly asked Rosaline Peridot. He wrapped an arm around her, suddenly thinking, when I'm with this woman, no memories or feelings surface at all. Hold on, don't call anyone. She found it strange, turning back to Aslan, whose eyes were filled with hesitation and worry. Flew open in utter disbelief, and unable to contain her joy, Rosaline immediately threw her arms around Aslan. Of course, Aslan! I'm so happy! But even as she hugged him, his face was sullen. He thought, I don't understand why I crave the woman named Helena so much, but I can't let her affect me anymore. To keep a clear head, I have to stay completely away from her. She won't appear before me again if I marry this woman. While hugging Aslan, Rosaline smiled endlessly. Oh my god, I was so worried he'd regain his memories and throw me out, but he proposed instead. A peaceful, warm countryside scene appears. Lila sat before a man, clutching a bundle, when she suddenly overheard people whispering around her. Really? Duke Thodel is getting remarried. Someone said Rosaline Peridot already contacted the most famous wedding dressmaker in the capital. The two girls behind her began to whisper. Then what about Duchess Thodel? Her friend replied, I heard they've already finalized the divorce papers. Once they're officially processed, I guess the wedding will happen. Hearing those whispers, Lila began to feel uneasy and sad, but all she could do was listen with a somber expression on her face. Only the Duchess would know, so how am I supposed to know anything? Then Lila thought, he and Rosaline. She lowered her head, her expression one of profound sadness. In the end, it's the same old story. No matter how hard I try, I can't escape my fate. Danton looked flustered and confused, asking his master, Master, are you really going to marry Lady Peridot? You haven't even finalized the divorce with the Duchess yet. Aslan held a document in his hand. Frowning in annoyance, haven't all the papers been signed? Just fix the missing parts and submit it immediately. He then placed the document gently on the table. I have no desire to return to someone who is already in the past. Seeing this, Danton grew alarmed and tried to intervene. But your memories haven't fully returned yet, if you act so hastily. The atmosphere grew dark and tense. Aslan's face was cold as ice. Danton, who gave you the right to interfere with my decisions? Perhaps that was acceptable in the past, but not anymore. Danton quickly bowed his head in apology. My apologies. Then do you still wish to hold the wedding in the same location? He slowly asked. Where was it held before? Standing stiffly, Danton timidly replied, the wedding was held at the capital's grandest cathedral. Hearing this, he looked utterly bewildered. Wasn't it at the Abbey? Danton, terrified, waved his hands dismissively. The Abbey, you say? Aslan sat on his chair, his face showing sweat. Wasn't it at the Abbey wedding where my mother died? Danton was bewildered. What are you talking about, sir? Her ladyship is still alive. He became increasingly bewildered. You're saying my mother is still alive? Standing across from him, Danton was terrified, sweat pouring down his face. I just received word from the Abbey that she is weak. Weaker, but she is definitely still alive, sir. Aslan stared into the distance and immediately asked, Then where did I meet my ex-wife? He replied, After you met her in the hall at the banquet a few years ago, didn't she come to visit you herself? That was the day you decided to marry her. In a flashback, a trembling and frightened Lila asked, Do you remember me? Aslan thought to himself, What? She collapsed in a dark, terrifying room. Please save me. I was kidnapped by Count Lariston. An image of Aslan appeared in his mind. He thought, that's right, even if it's only fragmented memories, I definitely remember that moment. So the scene at the Abbey I saw in my dream, was that just a dream? And you're telling me Helena Lariston never threatened me? After a long silence, Danton spoke up. Master. Aslan panicked and yelled, Stop all wedding preparations! There is something I need to check. My father was a demon. Aslan remembered when he was a child. He was kneeling on the floor, hands over his ears, trembling as he heard his mother scream, Darling, stop! The bedroom door slowly creaked open, and his mother's voice was still begging, Please don't hit Aslan, don't hit Aslan, just hit me, I'll be fine. Aslan always thought, ever since I was a child, I've had only one goal, to kill my father. That way my mother and I would be free. That way my mother and I would be free. The plan to kill my father and disguise it as an accident was perfect, until my father found out about it. Aslan grew up, and his father learned of his plan. He grabbed him by the collar. You're trying to kill me? Bring it on. Let's see which one of us dies first. Aslan's mother rushed over to grab his father's arm. Aslan, hurry and tell your father you were wrong, quickly. Aslan scowled, shoving his father's arm away, his eyes cold. A demon like you should die, I'm going to kill you. Aslan's mother rushed over to grab his father's arm. Aslan, hurry and tell your father you were wrong, quickly. He grabbed him by the collar. You're trying to kill me? Bring it on. Let's see which one of us dies first. Aslan scowled, shoving his father's arm away, his eyes cold. A demon like you should die, I'm going to kill you. No. Aslan's father grabbed a nearby knife and lunged at him. I'm gonna make today your funeral. A plate crashed to the floor and shattered. Aslan's mother rushed to stop him. Darling, stop. He looked up, bewildered, to see his mother holding a bloody knife. She was gasping for air, her eyes completely vacant. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Aslan stood up worriedly and approached his mother, but she recoiled. Mom? The image of Aslan in her eyes had now become that of his cruel father, and a knife clattered to the floor. Aslan flinched as he saw his father collapse right in front of him. All he could do was call out, Mother. She became hysterical, screaming over and over, Don't kill Aslan. Aslan's mother fell to her knees, begging in terror. Ah, darling, I'm sorry. Don't hit me. Please save me. Aslan didn't understand why his mother was like this. She killed someone, unable to tell the difference between me and my father. At my father's funeral, Aslan, my mother still mistook me for him. She rushed forward to attack me. I have to kill him. He'll kill my child. He'll kill my child. Every time I went to the convent, when my mother saw me, she would have a hysterical fit, screaming and breaking things. After that day, I never saw my mother again. Back in the present, Aslan sat at his desk, lost in thought. According to the records, my mother has shown no improvement since that day. I haven't seen her again, but I'm sure she's still alive. If you touch my son, I'll kill you. Aslan was stunned. At that moment, he finally realized something. His mother had gone mad from the shock after. Out of love? Suddenly, there was a knock on the door and a voice called out, Aslan, it's me, Rosaline. Aslan replied. Come in. Rosaline slowly walked in. She started a conversation with Aslan. I heard that you... Suddenly, the wedding preparations... Aslan continued. I need to check a few things. And come to think of it, I have something to ask you. Rosaline asked blankly. What is it? Aslan's gaze was ice cold. You said my ex-wife and I were a couple. The convent still sends me regular updates about my mother. So were those memories really just a dream? Did I really marry Lila? I have a vague memory. I probably said that for the past 3 years. That it was a troublesome marriage contract. If I really loved Lila, why? Would I lie? Aslan remained silent. He tapped his pen on the desk. Aslan rested his chin on his hand and closed his eyes. The atmosphere was so quiet it was frightening. Rosaline's face turned pale. She bit her lip and thought to herself, I'm so worried. Did he regain his memories after meeting? Just on contract? Did I tell you that contract bothered me for 3 years? Rosaline immediately replied, Yes, you did. Aslan fell silent, thinking, Is in the convent. I heard she's been trying to recover for a long time. Ah, thinking of that, she spoke up, Aslan. You clearly told me you didn't marry your ex-wife for love. It was just a fake marriage on contract. You also didn't invite your own mother, right? Oh, and Lareston didn't attend either because he was against the wedding. That's also why Aslan's mother didn't attend. Aslan's face darkened. He didn't reply, instead thinking, Right, my mother didn't attend. The wedding, because I didn't want to see my mother again. Sometimes when I read the updates about her, I really want to see her, but he recalled a time before, when he was sitting on a bench outside, Lila approached and called out to him. The Duchess? If he remembers everything, he'll kick me out again. The convent. Come to think of it, Aslan's mother. Letter. She smiled and asked, It's a letter from the convent. Are you reading news about your mother? Aslan couldn't hide it anymore, and had to. Reply, Ah, yes. My mother sent a letter to congratulate us on our wedding. She sends her apologies. She couldn't come because of her health. Lila looked at him with sad eyes and thought to herself, in the original story, Aslan's mother, her mental illness prevented her from seeing her son. Aslan, what are you reading? Aslan hid the letter behind his back and replied with a smile. Ah, it's nothing. Lila caught a glimpse of the, but. Aslan quickly refused. Oh, we can't. My mother doesn't want to see me. The relationship between my mother and me isn't very close. Her heart ached for him. Lila gripped Aslan's hand tightly as if to, until she died. She politely asked him, should we go to the convent together to greet her? We're not a real couple, your mother and me, so I won't ask. Lila smiled. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to, Aslan. Comfort him. She looked at him intently, thinking to herself, he's definitely keeping the truth about her condition a secret. She didn't ask me anything. She just stayed by my side. As the memory faded, Aslan mumbled, I have to go see her. Rosaline asked in bewilderment. I will pray for both you and your mother. Aslan looked at her with gratitude. She didn't take advantage of his secret about something so important. Rosaline tried to stop him. Hey, wait a minute, Aslan. But Aslan quickly rang the bell. What? Aslan said. Rosaline, the wedding is postponed until I remember everything. I don't think I can decide in this state. I think I should go see my ex-wife. Dan turned, smiled brightly and obeyed. Yes, sir. Rosaline gritted her teeth in frustration. She immediately ran to him. Rosaline grabbed Aslan's arm and shouted to stop him. Aslan, don't do this. She clutched his sleeve, her face filled with worry. You always get worse after you see the lady. I'm worried it will happen again. Rosaline's voice grew soft as she lowered her head. Don't go just yet. Please get some proper rest first. Dan Turn appeared instantly, asking politely, You called for me, sir? Aslan ordered Dan Turn. Dan Turn! Buy a train ticket to Eilat, of Rosaline's, and spoke slowly. When I'm with you, no memories or feelings come to me. I feel completely calm. So I am certain that, Aslan stated firmly, his gentle expression gone, as he coldly pushed her hand away from him. I have never loved you. In that moment, Rosaline was horrified. His annoyed expression remained fixed. And after your body has recovered, suddenly, Aslan called her name, Rosaline. She froze on the spot. He took her trembling hand, in helping me regain my memory. He turned to Dan Turn and said, You said at first I had Rosaline stay at the Amber House, correct? Send her back there. He placed a hand over his heart, bowed, and replied, Yes, sir. Rosaline panicked and stammered. On her. I don't know why I brought you to my mansion, but one thing is certain, you are of no help. Or not, we will sort it out after I get my memories back. If it truly was a misunderstanding, then I will apologize. His voice was chillingly deep, leaving her stunned. Now get out of my house, Peridot. At that moment, Delton instantly grabbed Rosaline's hand. Hey, Aslan, I told you that day was just a misunderstanding. Aslan gave her an indifferent look, whether it was a misunderstanding. Right away, sir. Rosaline could only scream in confusion. Wait! The room was now silent. For a moment, Aslan glanced toward the window where soft rays of sunlight were streaming in. A flicker of longing for Lila appeared in his eyes, and images of her surfaced immediately after. I still don't know which of the things in my head are real and which are fake. Memories are just chaotically popping up everywhere. Helena Lariston. What was it really like? All of these memories are because of her. I must have been so happy with her. He smiled and pulled her away as quickly as he could. I will buy the earliest ticket and have everyone pack the luggage. The steam train billowed smoke, signaling the long journey ahead. Meanwhile, in another residence, Rosaline sat silently on the cold floor, her luggage beside her. She looked completely dazed. Looking back at the two maids, Rosaline clenched her fists and yelled, Wait, she asked them while, struggling to her feet, Are you just going to leave me alone like this? Rosaline continued, Shouldn't there be at least one person to look after me?